You walk down the wrong block, you're gonna just get up. Every time you turn the corner, 30 dudes are like running after you. The gun is aimed at my face and other people like, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. And I look this way and my daughter's crawling towards me. Somebody in the hood that you have problems with goes up to your sister, it's on. That's how I caught my attempt murder charge.
Sose the Ghost has a fascinating life story. He grew up in the most violent section of the South Bronx, the epicenter of street gangs in New York City. As a teenager, he became a member of the Grape Street Crips in a neighborhood heavily dominated by Bloods. Fighting, shootouts, and murders were a daily occurrence. Sose did it all, sold dope and coke, went back and forth from Rikers Island, and survived as a gangbanger in the roughest prisons in the state of New York. After getting out of prison and leaving the Crips, Sose became a 1% biker with the Thug Riders motorcycle club and moved up to become the sergeant of arms. He's now worked with every 1% motorcycle club in the country, from the Vagos to the Hells Angels to the Mongols. He gave us inside info on the power of West Coast street gangs in New York City, especially the Bloods, and how they've managed to infiltrate these supposedly legitimate biker clubs across the East Coast. Sose is the leading voice for biker and street gang culture on the internet. Check out his YouTube pages, Sose the Ghost and Demon's Row, for all of the best interviews with 1% bikers. Without further ado, a gangster for life, Sose the Ghost, right here on The Connect with Johnny Mitchell.
I was a sergeant of arms in a 1% club, which is a position where you have to actually get physical with people and stuff like that. In jail, they were ruthless. They would cut their own. The COs in Rikers, they didn't control the house. The head gang leader controls the house. Everybody wants to be king of the jungle.
It's a fascinating subculture that people are still interested in.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because like I'm here like sitting down with all these Outlaw motorcycle club members, and I got like Jason Momoa watching the show. I had no idea. And the only reason why I found out about it is because there was all these channels. You know, when you grow, people start talking, you know? Yeah. So people were, all these channels started talking about me that didn't know me. I was shocked. I was like, oh, shit. Like they were just making up like they knew me. And Jason Momoa saw it and he was kind of upset because he was a fan of the show and he actually granted me an interview. So it was like, damn, I'm talking to all these outlaws, but he's in a club. He's in a Red Rum MC. So he was like learning about it because he was new to it. So it was like, it's crazy. Like YouTube, you reach so far. You never would guess who was like watching the show, you know?
Was Jason Momoa a biker before he was an actor?
Yeah.
That's his background?
Yeah, he always rides. He does all his own stunts on Fast and the Furious and all that. He does all the stunts.
Yeah, you're from the Bronx.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The Bronx is still hard rock. It's one of the last boroughs that really hasn't changed that much.
Yeah, it's something in the water or something, bro. Like, I don't know what it is, but the Bronx, it seems to never change. You know when it calmed down a little? When Giuliani came. Giuliani was like, he regulated New York. Like people were scared when he brought down the mob and the death penalty and everything. And you know what it was? The catch and frisk. It didn't matter what you was doing. If you were on a block just hanging out, because that's how it is in New York. We just hang out on the corner, you know? So if you're hanging out on the corner, they're patting you down. So that took a lot of the crime off the street because, you know, you got a gun on you, gun charge, you know? It's just... yeah, he really shut it down. But the Bronx is just, it's been getting worse and worse progressively again. And like we grew up riding the subways, and the subways, man, people get pushed in the subway. Like, you know, I don't know if you spent any time in New York, but if you ever ride the subway, people that know ride in the middle where the conductor is. Because if you get caught in that back, and the wrong people come in the back, it's lights out for you. They're gonna rob you, they're gonna beat you up, something, you know? Growing up, we seen so much on the trains. Like we would cut school, hop on the train and end up in Coney Island, because I'm from the Bronx, and Coney Island is the last stop on the train. So we're in Brooklyn, you know, ended up in crazy situations, bro. Like,
yeah, and gangs go back to like, if you watch Warriors, the famous movie from like the early 70s, it's like different, you know, gang, just little cliques of hooligans. Yeah. So that's like unique to the Bronx. Nowhere else besides maybe deep Brooklyn has gangs like that. They were just, you know, just drug dealers or mafia or whatever. Because the Bronx is, it's part of New York, but it's like a ghetto suburb.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It's different from everywhere else. I mean, we kind of got that relationship with Harlem, because Harlem is like uptown right across the water from the Bronx. So Harlem and uptown, we always had that. It's so different, bro. Like everywhere else I go, I'm like, it's so clean compared to, there's like a filthy kind of look to New York, you know? People just throw garbage on the floor. We used to throw garbage out the window, crazy. I don't know what we were thinking. But you see other people do it and it's just, but then you go to nice neighborhoods and they're like, oh my God, you just littered. Like, it's crazy, you know? But in New York, it's just, that's how it is. It's just a gritty place. And it's like the Twilight Zone too, because people I grew up with, I could know your first and last name and never say what's up to you. We'll walk right by each other, know each other's family and everything, but we were never introduced. You don't say hi to each other. It was just the Twilight Zone, bro. Yeah. People are so defensive because there's so many people and things happen so fast that it's crazy. Like you could like just look and then like, what the f you looking at? And then it just goes down, you know? So everybody's so like tunnel vision and like not worrying about nobody else's business. Like I used to see the ambulance on my block. Somebody stretched out on the floor. You're like, somebody got killed. You look, it's not somebody you know. You just keep walking. It was just completely like oblivious to everything, you know? It's
just normal. That's
it's
normal.
normal. Yeah, it's normal.
And you could die anytime in the Bronx. Especially now, you know, I read the New York Daily News every day, and every day it's somebody got stabbed in the Bronx. Some 16-year-old killed a 14-year-old in the Bronx. What is that about today? What is that teenage gang violence over?
I'll be honest with you. I think when I was a teenager, I did a bid for robbery. All of us, when we were like 13, 14, everybody in my neighborhood started to do bids. I don't know what it was, but well, I know what it was. We were poor. And when we wanted something, you know, you ask your mom, oh, can I get this new jacket? Could we get this? And they're like, no, I can't afford it. And then you go about things the wrong way, you know, and I'm not proud of what I've done. But, you know, we used to take people's coats, crazy stuff. We used to call it shopping. And on Fridays, you know, we'd be on the block and then like, yeah, man, I asked mom, I wanted the new North Face or whatever. She won't get it for me. And then we're like, yeah, me too. Yo, that we going shopping, and then we just go out and we start beating people up, robbing them. We used to rob the Chinese man like all the time, like to the point where they didn't want to do deliveries anymore. And we had like this huge criminal scheme when we were little that we would, since it's big apartment buildings, my boy lived on the 4th floor of one building and you could connect through the roof. So we would order food to this building right here, rob them, and then go up through the building, come out, and then go into my friend's house and just eat. We have like $20 or whatever. Yeah. But to us, it was a lot of money at the time, you know?
Yeah, and you wonder why Chinese people are racist in New York.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, you can kind of empathize a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you all Puerto Ricans? You're Puerto Rican.
I'm Puerto Rican, yeah. There was Puerto Ricans, blacks. There was a lot of Albanians. Let me tell you, the Albanians are ruthless. Like Albanians, the Irish were ruthless. Like it was like a good melting pot, you know, but mostly Puerto Rican and black and like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And the Dominicans are really known as the drug dealers amongst the New York Latinos. Puerto Ricans used to have it in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Guys like Boy George, you ever heard of him?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, George Rivera. He was like a massive heroin kingpin at like 20 years old. Puerto Rican dude.
I have a friend, Big John. He trains Amanda Serrano, the women's boxing champion. Big John was one of his soldiers. He was like one of his right hands, and he did a whole bunch of time. Yeah. So yeah, I know about his story well. Yeah.
How old are you? What did you grow up?
45.
Okay, so you do remember the old era.
80s when like I lived on 183rd in the Bronx when buildings were completely torched. Like we used to call them crackhead mansions, and we used to like creep in when we were little, and then we would see like crackheads there lighting up and all that. The drug dealers would. I don't know if they would like get raided and just light the building on fire or what it was, but it seemed like that's what was happening. But it was just a time where all of these buildings in the Bronx were just burnt down. It was like, I don't know what was going on at that time.
Well, in the 70s, it's well known the landlords the buildings were so underwater, they were worth less than what the bank would give it to them for. So they would torch their own buildings to get the insurance money. Wow. So that's what started it. And then in the 80s, you know, with crack, and I mean, it just got worse before it got better.
Did you ever like see that era, what the 80s was like in New York?
I see pictures all the time. It's fascinating.
Bro, it was like you watch these video games that the kids play with the zombies. I swear to God, bro, that was real life. Like that crack took people's soul. They were zombies, bro. They were walking around soulless, like gone. And it was tough, man. It was tough seeing that as a kid, you know?
Yeah, your dad got hooked, right?
Yeah, my dad, when I was 4 years old, he used to lay down carpets and he was making good money doing it. He was a good dude too, but he had a friend that put him onto it and boom, I believe it's mental health issues though, why people use drugs, but because I worked as a mental health worker for a short time and I realized that when they're off meds, they will do the craziest shit, but when they're on their meds, nicest people in the world. I maintain that like people that use drugs are some of the best people. They just get caught up, you know what I mean? But yeah, he got caught up and he did about 20 something years, killed somebody. Yeah, my dad he left when I don't know the exact numbers because my father, he was burnt out from the crack. So he died like a couple of months ago. But something about him, he never learned English and I don't speak Spanish well. And he was just like kind of burnt out too from the crack. So he was kind of like gone, mentally. So I never get to really like have real conversations with him. But I didn't see him again till I was 28. So from 4 to 28, he was locked up.
What happened?
Drug deal went bad. Somebody got killed. He got blamed for it. I don't know if he did it allegedly. They said he did, but he was gone my whole life. And then I had a stepfather that was using cocaine most of the time, beating the shit out of me the whole time. Childhood, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that didn't stop till I got older and I got out of where I was locked up at as a juvenile. And he smacked my sister one day and I threw the beats on him. I was 17, so I was like, nah, this. Yeah. Now I'm up now, He was older and bigger, but when you're young, you're like, you got that agility and you're wild, I just came home. So I thought I was big. I was really skinny as hell, but for a kid, I thought I was big,
That's wild. Yeah. Anything can happen in the Bronx. You can go away from murders you didn't do. Yeah. You can stay free from murders you did do. Yeah. Did you have any homies like as teenagers that caught bodies? Like, did you know the dudes that were like, oh no, he's a shooter. Like he kills.
So the funny thing? The dudes that are shooters, they usually get caught for like a gun charge. The ones that actually body somebody is somebody that like, yo, he was the coolest dude. Like what happened, Like my boy Carlos, he bodied somebody. He used to get picked on by certain people and I used to like defend them, It was some Bloods that he had a problem with down the block. I was Crip at the time and I told him, I was like, yo, if you got a problem with him, he's from my block. It's on, you know what I'm saying? Because we had this thing where it was like, we went through our wars, but then it was like, you're over there, we're over here, So on Decatur, where I'm from near Gun Hill in the Bronx, they tried to have a problem with him one time, but he wound up bodying one of them. And he wasn't that type of dude. He was a good dude. But, you get your back against the wall, and there's no Second Amendment rights in New York, So it's like, if you want to defend yourself, you're a criminal, pretty much. Because that's how I caught my attempt murder charge. I was in a situation where I had this dude that I had beef with was from a block that it was. When I was younger, I had problems with them and we ran our whole childhood because every time we would turn the corner, it was like 30 dudes right there ready to kill us, bro. It was because of my cousin. My cousin knocked out this kid in James sneaker store on our block. He had an argument with him, punched him. He fell into the sneaker rack, all that. Turns out this kid's brother is in this gang, KFH, and they were like the ones that ran the neighborhood, and we ran for a couple years, And I had my friend Boogie, rest in peace. He died. He used to defend me. He knew them. He was real nice with his hands and he used to defend me. But it sucked because they would never give you a fair one. They would just jump you every time. So it was like every time you turn the corner, 30 dudes are like running after you. It was rough, man. Childhood it sucked in the Bronx,
So then how did you catch an attempt murder?
So after all of that was over, I started becoming cool with some of the people that I had problems with as I was starting to get older. And we caught a case together. And once we got caught, it was an assault on police. I didn't know he was a police officer. I hit him with a 40 bottle. We were having an argument in the grocery store and we were young. He was a grown man. So he was fighting my friend. So I just hit him with a 40 bottle, stupid move. And it turns out this dude is a police officer. So when that happened, we ran and left. Police come to my house. So I'm like, these ratted on me. So it was on from there, And then people had went to their house. It turns out it was somebody completely different that told on us where we live and all that. But we started warring with each other. So one day he's in front of my building and he has an argument with my sister. I gotta preface it first. He seen my sister one day. She was with a boyfriend, thank God, and he tried to press my sister, like, yo, when I see your brother, whatever. And he was like in her face. So her boyfriend had a fight with him. He actually whipped his ass. So after that, you know, somebody in the hood that you have problems with goes up to your sister, it's on, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's nothing to talk about no more. So I had my little Pearl 2.5. I'm young. I think I'm gangster or whatever. And I went to meet up with this girl in Long Island, and she was like, yo, come stay with me. So I was like, I'm going to go to the house and get some clothes. I go to get the clothes, this in front of my building. So I'm like, you got beef with me and you got enough nerve to be in front of my building. So I get out the car, we have an exchange. I can't say too much because I had an attempt murder case for it. So I don't want to get too into these. I mean, statute of limitations is way over because this was in 2000. But I mean, it turned out to be a shootout, right? I got shot too. And the craziest thing, because of this whole situation, when I was in the hospital, since I had the assault on police, they didn't want to give me my clothes or anything. So when I went to court for this attempt murder case, and mind you, they're telling me that he died. They lied to me in there. They're like, oh yeah, it's murder. You're charged with murder. I'm like, murder? What the Like, he died? And they're like, yeah, he must have, but they were with me. I didn't know. I was shook. So I'm in a sling, and I'm in you know those the hospital gown with the ass out. And then I have like these slippers, but they're not actual slippers. They're like what the nurses wear over their feet, because they took my clothes and threw it out that my mother gave me because I had that assault on police charge before. So the cop said, this dude. So I'm in there with a sling shot in there. And I go into there, and the first person I see is the big shot caller from the person that I shot's block. So I'm like, you know, so I told him, I was like, he was sitting down, he was like, hey, what's up? What you doing here? And I said, I just let your man have it. And he was like, who? And then I told him, and he was like, oh, he's not from my block. He hangs out on my block. Started laughing. I was like, because I was.
So what happened? So you guys both pulled out?
Yeah.
Started dumping?
Yeah.
He survived?
Yeah, he survived.
Obviously.
Yeah.
You got hit where?
I got hit on my shoulder.
Oh, it's a good place to get hit if you get hit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. Was that your first time being shot?
Yeah, it was my first time. The crazy shit about being shot, like, I don't know if you know about this, but my arm was like Popeye. It was like this big. It just blew up. Wow. And I had to hold it up because on top of that, I tried to hand the burner to my so-called best friend, and he pushed it back to me, bitch ass. And I had to go up the elevator and try not to touch stuff, you know, to leave a trace, to go. Nobody was home. My luck. So I had to open the door and drop the shit in the garbage can, come out without touching anything. Because if they know I got to the house, now they're going to search. I went to like a neighbor's door, and I just knocked on the door and fell because I couldn't like hold myself no more. And the dude, his wife comes out. She's like, oh my God, call the police. The dude is like, no, mind your business. New York, bro. Yeah. So he's like, no, I don't want to get involved with that. Because then now, maybe you're ratting on somebody, or you're getting involved in a real situation. They'll come and kick the door in. So the lady calls. I'm laying there. I have blood from here down. You know what I mean? And the cops come first. They're asking me questions. Oh, you know who did this? You know that? I'm like, can I get some help first? You know what I mean? Like, right. I'm incapacitated.
Yeah, I'm dying.
Here,
I can help you better if I'm not dead.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So then they took me to the hospital or whatever. And
were you in super pain?
No. Surprisingly, you go into shock, and I felt no pain.
So it's almost like breaking your arm. Like when you break your arm, it all swells up and like that.
I never broke my arm like that.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That's what I've been told, is like it's kind of the same sensation. But I've also heard that if you're not in pain, that's a problem. If it hurts real bad, that means your nerves are still working. If you're not in pain, you might be bleeding out or something like that. But that's crazy. So what happened to dude? Where did he flee after you hit? Where did you hit him?
So he got lucky too, because I shot him here. And he still to this day has a bullet lodged in his cheek. So it never came out. It went in the bone. And mine just went in and out. So I got lucky, you know what I mean? But
so he ran off?
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to get rid of mine, so I don't know what his situation was. But and the crazy thing about that is when I got to court, like I'm in this sling, like I said, and looking like a fool, bro. I must have looked so crazy, bro. And for the first time ever, I heard of a lawyer. Like when the lawyer spoke, I understood what he was saying. Like as a kid, I never understood what they were saying. It all sounded like blah 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 blah. And the judge was like, yeah, but we already let his co-defendant out, or not co-defendant, but whatever you call like the person that you're against. And he said, yeah, but you can't keep my client in if you let him go. But he said if we let one go, they're gonna go right back at it. So they started talking a little bit more, and he was like, all right, you can go. I'm like, what? I was like, wait a minute, I'm not getting a murder charge? And he said, no, it's attempt murder. He's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, they told me he died. And then he was like, no, he went home. They lied to you. I was like, why the f- would they do that? You know what I mean? But I guess it's the COs trying to f- with you, you know? But
so they almost treat it like a fight. Like it's a fist fight.
Yeah.
Like mutual combat.
Yeah. Basically, they just didn't give a f- about us. So they're like, go ahead. If they kill each other, so what? You know what I mean? But
I mean, that Bronx courthouse, dude, they've got to be slammed with shooting murder, attempt murder cases. That's wild. Okay, so then did you do a bid over that?
No, because it was word against word. So it was like, you can't, if nobody's going to testify against each other, they can't do anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was like that. So I remember that day though, leaving the courtroom. Like I called my mom through the lawyer's phone and I'm like, Mom, I'm getting out. And she was like, for real? And then she was like, just jump in a cab. So I'm standing out there on 161st Street by Yankee Stadium in a sling and with my ass out in the back. And I must have looked so crazy, bro. Yeah. And you know, my hair was looking crazy. You know, the mug shots, they make you look like the worst piece of. Yeah. You probably look like a damn movie star in yours.
I look great. My hairline was like Puerto Rican down to like I look just like a piece of ass. I love my mugshot, dude. We didn't go through any of that.
They always made me look like I was the that did it in my pictures.
You know what? Yeah, right. You know what the key is? You smile in your mugshot. Oh yeah. I had a guy I bid with this dude who'd been in and out all his life, you know what I mean? Like real hard rock from Philly. And he would smile like ear to ear in his mugshot because he's like, I'm not going to let these turn me into, like make me feel bad. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to turn it on their head, Yeah. So
that's master psychology right there, bro.
Well, it comes from experience.
Were you a little bit older when you did that, or you were young and had that?
This guy,
kind of mind?
I was 24 and I had a attitude like everybody that goes into prison their first time, right? Just why me, porn me. Yeah. And all the 40-year-old dudes like this guy, they were like, no, you got to fix your attitude. It's your attitude that's a problem. Yeah. So, and that just goes true for everybody that's not where they're at, where they want to be in life. It's they got a attitude,
When you were locked up, did you feel like I don't belong here? These people are dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. I was very in my mind. I mean, I was cool as with most people, but in my mind, I was like these animals. Like I'm a real criminal. I wish I had gone to the feds. Like almost instantly when I hit the yard in state prison, I was like, I should be around real criminals.
I used to say things to people that was like, I knew I didn't belong and they hated about me. Like there was this shot caller, Latin King shot caller, and he was like, we were talking about our bids and I was like, I got a 2 flat. And he was like, man, that ain't it, man. I got 7 years in. I got 10 more to go. I'm like, you proud of that, bro? Like I'm going home in 2 years. Right. I don't want to be you, bro. Like, and everybody's looking at me like, yo, he's crazy. Like, and it was just like me being truthful. I wasn't even trying to be like tough or anything. Right. I was just like, bro, I'm going home. Yeah. That's good. I don't want to be you.
Yeah. The real OGs, like the real would always empathize and encourage with you if they were real. Like I was in the county jail facing like 5 years and I'm spinning laps with a dude who went to my high school, but he was 20 years older. He'd been fighting the death penalty for 3 years in the county jail. It was torturous. And I'm like belly aching about my stupid little drug charge. Yeah. And he goes, that's something. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, no, 2 years even. That's a lot of time.
Wow.
But I'm facing the death penalty. Like that's the way that like an OG talks to like a youngster.
Yeah.
That's like a good dude, even though he might have, bodied a couple of people.
I can relate to that because when I was in Gowanda, when I was up north, I used to work out with this OG, Mr. B. He was 73 years old, black dude. He was in the Attica riots. He it was said that he killed a police officer. He got hit at the parole board at least like, I think it was like 10 times. He had like 30 something years in. I don't know the exact math, but I know he had like 35 years in or something like that. And he would not, everybody would tell him, Mr. B, just tell him you did it and that you're sorry and you'll go home. And he was like, I will not say it because I did not do it. And he winded up going home after like 40 years, like close to when I went home on his own terms. But I used to work out with him and he used to live heavier weight than me. He was 73 years old, bro. Yeah. He was training me and lifting way heavier. So I could relate to that a lot, bro.
They said he killed a police officer?
Yeah, they said he killed one of the cops in the Attica riots.
Oh, in the riots. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, those old dudes, don't they make you feel like a bitch?
Yeah,
like they're up so early and they're
Yeah.
working out twice a day. And I'm like, I just want to sleep.
And Mr. B, he wasn't in no gang, none of that. And the Bloods kind of like, Bloods in New York, they run the prison system. So I was Crip. It was not easy. You know what I mean? A lot of people told me, yo, bro, why are you Crip? Like, you're Puerto Rican. You could have just put your feet up. Like, why would you do that? But I was stupid, I was like trying to be hardcore or whatever. But
okay, so talk about that real quick. Okay, the Bloods and the Crips in New York is wild to me because I'm a West Coast cat. That's our thing, you know? So when did they first start popping up in New York? Bloods and Crips.
So the Bloods were popping up in New York out of nowhere. It was crazy. They were like expanding so fast. And what they would do is they would tell you, do you know what time it is? And if a person looked at the time, they would cut their face. Bro, girls, old ladies, it didn't matter. And I could not get with that program, bro. I could not respect it. I could not fear it. I always had that mentality, like underdog mentality. I think it's because I was always outnumbered when I was young. So I can't relate to the favorite. I always was an underdog, So
they're $1.50 innocent people.
Innocent people. Just as an initiation. And in jail, they were ruthless. When I was in Rikers, they would starve out. This was before I was in anything. I went to Rikers, right, for a short time, a couple of weeks. And, the way they have the seating and everything, if you sit in the wrong seat, they'll stab you. If like they controlled the food. Like, because the COs in Rikers, they didn't control the house. The head gang leader controls the house. So the head gang leader controls the food. You know what I mean? So if you're like somebody that had a problem with them, not like a rival gang, because if you're like Crip or something, they're going to cut you and you're out of there. But like they'll starve you out. And all the good food, they'll like take extra and then leave you little slabs or whatever. And you can't stand up to them because there's 15 of them in the house and it's like probably 10 other people or whatever, Yeah. And the Crips were the only ones who were going against them. The Latin Kings were in the beginning and then they wound up trucing it up. And then it was lights out after that,
Right. Which is the opposite of how it originated in the street, I believe. And, the comments will call me an idiot, but I think...
No, you're right. I
think the Crips were first, like on the street, Tookie Williams and the Bloods came about as a reaction to the Crips. Yeah. But in New York, it's like the opposite.
It's the opposite. The Bloods were so dominant that people started turning Crip. And the only reason why I turned, same cousin that started all the drama when we was a kid, he was Crip. And he went, this is after I had my attempt murder case and all that. And I have respect in my neighborhood because of that. Because, if you let your thing fly, people are going to be like, I'm not messing with him, So my cousin came home. He did a bid for robbery. And he was Crip. He came home Crip. So there was no Crips around, just Bloods. But he's claiming this shit, walking around with a bandana out his back pocket and all that. He's in the park one day. He gets ran out the park by the Bloods. So he comes to me frantic. I'm driving. I had my little Ford Explorer at that time. And I was hustling at that time. So I thought I was like, in New York, we didn't have, I don't know, you grew up in a place where people had nice cars. In New York, you were if you had like a truck, bro. If you had an Escalade, you were the top dog, bro.
It was all of New York in the 90s and early 2000s in the boroughs was all about the Isuzus and the Ford Explorers. No, the Ford Explorer was a hot car. And if you had that Eddie Bauer joint, you were a kingpin, bro.
Yeah. Tahoes, Yukons, those were like, I never saw like I know down here you guys got like, and well, you're from Cali, but Texas, they have like these crazy dunks and all this shit. We didn't have none of that, bro. It was truck. You were a drug dealer, you were truck, and you had the big body,
Guys, I'm very excited to be working with this next sponsor, Bay Smokes. Bay Smokes, the country's #1 online dispensary out of California, my adopted home, the land that I love, the land that I'm in exile from. They're a California company, and they are the #1 online dispensary. I've actually been using these guys for a while. Like, they've been trying to get on the show. They've been trying to buy ad space, and I've been kind of giving them the runaround. But the truth is, they're fire. They've referred to themselves as Zaza. I guess that's what the kids are calling it. These guys are a great brand. Their products are 100% legal, federally legal, and they ship to all 50 states. So if you live in a state where the boof packs are a little dubious, it's a little hard to go get them at a brick and mortar, that's fine. Just go to Bay Smokes. Just go to their online dispensary and they will have it shipped to you. And guess what? They've got a deal on some Zaza right now, a free taster. That's right. And trust me, it's not just a taster. It's like substantial. It's a great deal. Go get it right now for free. All you do is pay for shipping. Use that link that I put in the description of the episode under Bay Smokes. So this is a killer company, guys. Happy to be with them. Go claim that, dude. Bay Smokes. Thank you for being part of the Connect. Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp, America's #1 online therapist. You guys, I've talked about BetterHelp before. If you go see a shrink, a therapist in person, not to mention the hassle and all the time it takes to find the right therapist, you're going to be paying anywhere from like $150 to $300 a session. That's kind of unaffordable for most people. With BetterHelp, not only do they source you with somebody that's perfect for your needs, they've got tens of thousands of qualified therapists online to match you with the perfect person, but they're also coming in like 40 or 50% cheaper per session. And I use BetterHelp myself. 30,000 therapists worldwide. It makes BetterHelp the world's largest online therapy platform. It's served over 5 million people. Everybody I know actually that is in therapy, which I'm a comedian, so that's a lot, they all use BetterHelp. It's just from your pajamas at home over Zoom, you can build a relationship with a therapist. And if you don't like them, they make it super easy. You can just ghost them. Peace. You don't even have to send them an email. You can leave a message about how much they suck, and then they'll put you with somebody that is better suited for your needs. So go take care of your health, your mental health. We're coming into like a really crazy restructuring of the world order. It's gonna be stressful. So, go find the Lord and find a therapist. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/connect to get 10% off of your first month. Once again, that's betterhelp.com/CONNECT to get 10% off your first month. BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/connect. Now, how did in the 90s and the 2000s was the gangbanging much like it was on the streets of South Central, like flagging out of your pocket and rolling, crazy deep and hanging out on a stoop? And
I was so bad at a time that like even Crips, if they were wearing red, they'll try to piece me. I'll be like, yo, you got that dead on? Out of here, bro. Like, I'm not shaking your hand, bro. And I used to wear the flag and listen to the Eazy-E, and I used to hit licks in the Blood neighborhood with the Dodger jacket on. And I'm like, there's like 15 Bloods. I was hustling in Rockland County, and I was getting 100 a gram at that time. I thought I was like big dog because it was like so much,
Selling powder?
Yeah, powder, heroin. It was coke and dope I was selling. And
what was better business? Dope,
I was in a Ford Exploder when I was just selling the soft white, and then once I got to the dope, to the heroin, I was in the Navigator. I was like, I graduated,
Yep.
But I think that if I didn't graduate to heroin, I think I never would have got locked up, because the Connect, who I love, bro, Connect, I love this dude. They wanted me to rat on him. I was like, you, I love that dude. That dude had me in a Navigator. Yeah. I was like, strip clubs, bottles. You, I'm not ratting on him.
Who was he?
But he was in New Jersey, and he was a big time, and people were ODing off his dope. So that's why I got bagged, because I was in that pipeline. So they wanted to grab me because I wasn't as big and to rat on him. And I was like, you. I love that dude, man. Hell no.
Yeah.
But
And so he was a black guy?
yeah, he was a black guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was like tan East Coast heroin?
Yes.
They call it the tan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we never saw that on the West Coast. It was in the 90s and the 2000s. It was all tar heroin, Mexican tar heroin.
Oh,
so you didn't have people that sniffed. There was never nobody on the West Coast, especially in Oregon, where I'm actually from Oregon, Portland, Oregon.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It was all junkies. It was all pure stoned, stumped down, shoot it in your arm, dope fiends, and that because you can't really sniff tar heroin. That's already melted down. So that was one of the differences. Now I don't know what it's like. I don't know what the dope game's like now, but there's a lot of money in heroin.
So I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yeah.
So I had a test before you got locked up. I feel like we get these tests before we get burnt. I had these two situations. I had one situation where this chick was pregnant and I always served her, but I didn't know it was for her. She always told me it was for a man. So one day she says, yo, can I, do me a favor? Can I get some extra today? Because, I don't got money or whatever. And I was like, yeah, you always, and I was like, you, right? And she was like, look, I'm gonna tell you the truth. It's for me. And I still gave it her. And that's one thing I regret to this day. Like, I was like, I was a piece of, because I always said, drug dealers, I don't believe are bad people. I think they're just bootleggers during Prohibition. Mm-hmm. They have a liquor store when it's not legal. Yeah. But that's where it got immoral, Yeah. And then I had a second test. I had this customer, he would spend like $7,000. No lie, he would spend like $7,000 in heroin with cash. And then he would spend like $7,000 in checks. He had it like I was working for him as an electrician. And it always came out to like $7,000 a week. It was weird. Like I would get for it. So he made it like I was officially on the books for his electrician company. So there was one day. That
was all for him?
That was all for him, bro.
He's just a user. He's not reselling it?
Just using it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I remember there was a day where he was like, yo, I need some credit or whatever. I was like, yeah, I got you. And then his girl came to me and she said, beautiful girl too, like a Barbie doll. And she was like, please, like she offered sex and everything. Like, please, I'll sleep with you right now. Just don't give him any more. He's killing himself. And I said, I would do that because I don't want him to get sick and die or something, but he's going to get it from somebody else. Mm-hmm. So all you're telling me to do is not make money from him when he's going to buy for somebody else anyway.
If somebody else he doesn't know whose potency it is, and he could OD even easier. So a couple of days after that, I see him and he's like injecting it till the veins, just his whole arm was like, I felt bad. I actually did. His arm was like green and I was like, bro, what the? And he was like, yo, I can't find a vein. Like, and his whole was just like all green and poked everywhere. And he asked for more and I still gave it to him. And I got locked up a couple of weeks later. Oh, I think God said, you. I gave you two opportunities to show some decency, and now I feel like that's why I had to do my bid. Man, I never sold heroin, and I wasn't that deep in the coke game, so I can't relate to that. I feel no regret about any of the drugs I did. I feel bad about the home invasions. That's what I feel bad about.
I had a home invasion. That's just, bro.
Yeah. Well, you got invaded.
Yeah. I had. Yeah.
We smacked down a dude's door and beat him up and gagged him and tied him up and, put a gun to his head. And I would wake up when I was doing my bid for drugs, in the middle of the night. And I'd be like, oh my God, thank God I'm already in here. Because I would hear about dudes already doing bids that would talk about their crimes or however, like crimes they never got popped for. And then the state cops would walk in and arrest them, rearrest them for, think about the nightmare of that, you know? So I feel bad. So I'm like, okay, and when I thought about that way, I'm like, oh, I definitely deserve to be in here. Maybe not for the weed, but I definitely needed to sit down. And I still feel bad about that. You know, and I hear about like the trauma. Like I heard you talking about Matt Cox's podcast, and he was talking about how he got robbed at gunpoint in his house. Like how much it actually f***s with a person. And I was like, oh yeah, that's bad, I'll
tell you, I'll take a bullet right now before taking a home invasion.
Yeah.
A home invasion is a mental, it fucks with you because it's like, you're not safe anywhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. If they could get you at your house, you're not safe anywhere. Yeah. Getting shot, I felt like Superman after that,
Yeah, for sure.
We actually dapped it up. Yo, no more beef.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we saw each other on the street and I was like, yo, what's up? Like, and he was like, yo, I don't want to do this no more. And I was like, all right. And we just dapped it up and it was over. Yeah, it's crazy, bro.
I'd rather get home invaded.
Yeah.
I've been home invaded too. We got over it.
Yeah.
But it was a little different, you know. We didn't have kids. We didn't have. We didn't take it seriously because we were white boys. So we didn't. We were imitating what we heard and saw, but we didn't see death the way that you know cats from the Bronx saw how real it could get.
Yeah.
So we never really believed it. I didn't even really believe in prison. I'm like, there's no way.
So you just felt like they're gonna take the shit and they're gonna be happy because they got.
Nobody really kills over this.
Yeah.
You gotta be crazy. You could go to prison. Like we thought everybody thought like we did. Oh, there's real consequence. You go to prison forever. Nobody wants to really do that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why we didn't take that seriously.
I think for me, it was because the gun is aimed at my face and other people like, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. And I look this way and my daughter's crawling towards me. That image, it with me for so long, bro. And the crazy it is, at that time, I had a tooth pulled and it was a chick that did it. So she didn't have the strength to yank it right. So she like broke the tooth. So then they had to pull it again. And I was on perks and for like a month. I didn't even realize I had like a little addiction because I was on it for a little while, but it made me feel so good that I started getting it for my boy. I was like, yo, I need more. And I was on it a little bit and it made me like not myself. You know, I always felt so good and I was like kind of too soft for the conditions I was in. So just looking that way and seeing my daughter crawling towards me and I'm like, yo, is this how I'm going to end with my daughter watching me get my brain blown, you know, like it was crazy, you know, but
okay,
they didn't do it though.
So you're cripping.
That was the Crips that, yeah.
Was this after Rikers Island?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
many years after.
And now the Bloods, the Crips, they've got a bunch of subsects, obviously, subsets. And mostly are they based out of the Bronx in New York? Or is it other boroughs too? Jersey, I know.
Brooklyn was more Crip heavy. Some in Queens, but a lot of Bloods in the Bronx, you know? Okay. Like the Bronx and Uptown were like mostly Blood, and then the Crips were like more down in Brooklyn, Queens. But more in Brooklyn though. Them dudes, they hold it down.
Yeah. So you were outnumbered in the Bronx as a Crip?
Yes.
Okay. And
we kind of took pride in it like idiots, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we could and, you know, we hold weight because there's so many of them, but we're out here, you know? Yeah. I had that little chip on my shoulder. Like I told you, like when I was hustling, there was this building where there used to be like 15 Bloods in front of it. I'll come, I have an Easy E playing mad loud, jump out with my Dodger jacket, hit a lick. And then I remember one day, one of the Bloods told me, he was like, yo, you know you can't wear that around here, right? Like we don't do that around here. We're not gonna just bang because you Crip, but you can't just come around here. I looked at him, I said, I don't give a fuck about y'all. And I just turned and walked away. And that dude, when I went like this, like looked back, his eyes were like this. He was like, that dude must have the biggest gun in the world in that car. Cause it was like 15 of them. But I didn't even have a gun on me. I was just dumb, bro. I was dumb, bro.
Yeah, that is crazy. You were a Grape Street Crip?
Yeah. So
that comes from Watts, the furthest place on earth from the Bronx.
Yeah.
That's so crazy to me.
So I'm going to tell you the whole truth about this. So my cousin came home from this dude up north. Turned out he wasn't a real Grape, which is the problem with a lot of East Coast Crip. So one day I'm at a strip club. I got the purple bandana out and I see this dude and he got the purple bandana. So I'm thinking he's like Blood, because a lot of at that time Jim Jones and them was popular, Purple City Bird Gang, so they used to wear the purple bandana. So he was like, yo, you Grape? And I was like, yeah, it was cracking. And then I'm like, yo, you like Purple City Bird Gang or something? Like, and he was like, nah, man, I'm from Grape. And he was actually from Jordan Watts, but he was in the Bronx. So then I started learning from him, and then I learned everything was on the East Coast, and it's like so awakening. Then I started getting in tune with people from the West Coast and all that. But it's like, I understand why they say like, oh, these dudes are mimicking us. And I understand now as I'm older, because I didn't think of it that way, but it's like, why the are we repping like your street in California? You know what I mean? But you don't think about that when you're a kid. You're like, you know, these are my people over here and this is who I'm running with, you know?
But those guys are serious though. I mean, the Bloods especially, they're pretty organized. They have a hierarchy. They have chapters, you know. Did you guys have that with the Crips?
Yeah. I had 3 chapters under me. I had the Bronx chapter. I had Hartford. I actually had 4, New Haven, and then I had Newark. I had a couple people in Newark. Didn't really constitute a real chapter, but I had a couple people in Newark. But the Grapes are big in Newark. Like you know Arsenal, the battle rapper, and Shotgun Suge?
Yeah.
Like I have actually a music video with them back in the days and all that. Yeah, like I was very close with them. They're real Grapes, bro.
Right.
Like, yeah, they go over there and everything, you know, and they still rep that to this day, you know. But the betrayal that I dealt with wasn't them. They were good people, but the people that I had the home invasion with, I just couldn't do it anymore. I stayed for a while, but I'm like, why am I staying in something where I get betrayed like this, you know?
That was your own set?
Yeah. But it was so I was Boss Players. So in Grape, there's Boss Players, Peter Roll Mafia, Dusttown Hogs. They were Dusttown Hogs. I was Boss Players, a smaller sector within it. They were in like the second one. Peter Roll was the big one. And once again, my cousin lent the gun to one of them. We had this whole problem with him and that person. And I'm telling him, bro, you live in Hartford. Stop making problems where I live. I'm cool with these people. So they got at me to retaliate against him, you know? And he always that type of person, you know, where his always fell on me, you know? I always had to clean up his because I'm his older cousin. But this time I wanted him to handle his own. Like, you talking, handle your own, because I'm cool with them, you know? But it winded up backfiring on me, and I'm staring at the barrel because of this dude, you know? So I still love him because he's my cousin, but, you know, I have that resentment, you know? Because I always defended him, and I always caught for defending him. And my sister always told me, like, he's not your cousin. He's your cousin, but he's not your cousin. Stop with him, you know? And I should have listened to her because, you know, women have that little intuition with dudes. I feel like we're more trusting with people than women. Women will cut you off quick, you know? Like, nah, he's no good. Don't fuck with him. Us will, like, all the red flags will be there, and we'll just continue to, like, deal with the person, you know what I mean? I'm sure you could relate to that, you know?
Yeah.
You look like a pretty smart dude, though. Like, you ducked a lot of...
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Not sure about that, but, you know, yeah, I never like to deal with stupidity at all. Like, I didn't even think of myself as a criminal. I was like, I'm a drug dealer. I'm a businessman. Yeah. You know, I always had like a kingpin mindset, even though I was like not that, but I was like, it's all about your mentality, you know? I
still believe drug dealers are the businessmen. They're not like people like, yo, they're the worst kind of people. Trump wants to, like, you know, send them to like El Salvador and shit. And I was a big Trump guy for a long time. And I'm starting to see some things that I don't like. I'm not against them or anything like that, but like, I don't agree with the fact that like drug dealers are that bad. You know what I mean? I think once you commit the crime of like tying somebody up and, you know, shooting them or something like that, now you stepped into another world.
Yeah. So how do the Crips and the Bloods in New York City, how does that relate to the motorcycle gangs you got involved in?
So that actually came after, but you know, you have people that are like still affiliated, but like you got so many people that are like were Blood, they're still in their set, but they're like now in a club, or they're Crip, but they're in a club. So they're still affiliated, but they're in clubs too, you know?
Right.
And I was like that for a while in the beginning before I like decided to stray away from it. But I started in this club, The Click, because my boy Arson, who now he's an unknown biker. He's a 1%er now. And they're like big in New York, the Unknown Bikers. They're like, I know, you know, like, you're from Cali, so like the Vagos are like, they're like the Vagos, but in New York, you know?
And they're based out of the Bronx?
Yeah. Well, Brooklyn, Bronx, yeah, but they started more in Coney Island and Brooklyn. Yeah. These dudes, man, I learned a lot under them. These dudes, bro, I've seen situations where like somebody will grab a girl's butt, the girl smack the dude, they'll stomp the girl out like she's a dude, bro. Like, bro, savage. I remember because I was in their support club for a while. I remember they're telling us like, yo, something's going on, keep people from jumping in. I turn around, I'm holding people back or whatever, turn around, it's a girl getting stomped out. I felt weird about that. I was like, you know?
Equal opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So, and are they made up, the Unknown Bikers, are these like Hispanics?
Yeah, a lot of Hispanics, yeah.
Okay. Is it Puerto Ricans?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I would say it's like a heavy Puerto Rican club, but you could be white in there, you could be black.
Right.
Yeah, it's diverse, you know? That's the thing though, you know, like, I know you're probably familiar with this, but the East Coast, we don't really have the color lines like that. I mean, like, you ever seen the movie Bronx Tale?
course.
So that's really how it is. Like Webster Avenue, that's black, like, you know?
Right.
And there's Puerto Ricans there too. And like Little Italy, that's Italian. It was really like that. Like if you go down this block, you know, the Bronx is like that in general though. Yeah. You walk down the wrong block, you're gonna just get up just because. Yeah. And it's always the littlest dude. Like, yo, what the fuck you doing over here? They send the littlest dude, right?
Joe Pesci.
Yeah, yo, I'm telling you, they send the littlest dude. Yo, what you doing here? And then they all jump on you, you know? That's how it always was, you know? But yeah, that's like that separation on the East Coast isn't really there anymore. Like there's a little bit of it, but like you can be like in Cali, you can't even function together like in prison, right? And when I was locked up, it wasn't like that, you know, but it's different in prison in the East Coast because it's more like Bloods and Crips. But since I was Crip, Puerto Ricans were scared to hang out with me because they didn't want the Bloods to think that I was trying to recruit them. So I used to chill with the Trinitarios. Because in New York, like the Trinitarios, they run, bro. Right. They're like the Mexicans kind of like are in Cali. Right. Like they run, bro. And the Bloods run too, but like Trinitarios, nobody with them, bro.
Those are the Dominicans.
The Dominicans, yeah. Dominicans, Peruvians, like kind of like Latinos in general, you know? Yeah. But a lot of Dominicans, like heavy Dominican, but there's Puerto Ricans in there too.
So talk about your first bid. When you got caught, you were selling dope. You were selling heroin, right?
Not skid bids, right? Just bid.
Yep. So you were there, you were slinging dope. Were you doing well? Were you good at selling drugs?
Yeah, I was doing good. I was doing real good.
How much heroin were you getting from your connect?
I wasn't like doing pounds, but like a pound here and there or whatever. I wasn't like.
That's a gang of heroin though.
Yeah.
You know, it's not much weed, but it's a lot of smack.
I know.
Did you know how to cut and all that?
They were giving it to me already bricked up. And I always was telling my connect, like, yo, just give me about a gram or whatever. And he wouldn't do it, man. I would have been super rich if I got it by the gram, like if I would have got that connect. But it was so risky.
What do you mean by the gram?
Because he was giving it to me already bundled up.
Oh, right. Okay. So yeah, explain how like normally
they're in tens and then you sell it about 100 or whatever. I just sold about 100, you know, like 10 for 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So was that the same for you? Or you was just doing pounds, right? Like straight up like big or?
Yeah, I was selling pounds of weed. I didn't even know how heroin.
Always.
I'd never even seen heroin, you know? So yeah, you sell it by the 100 pack. Yeah. That's what 100s are. It's 10 little baggies.
Yeah, 10 little baggies and it's rolled into one.
Did it have a stamp? Did you have a stamp?
Yeah, it had a stamp. I don't remember what the stamp was though, because it was always something different. He didn't have like, it was like a smiley face. Yeah, it was like a smiley face. It wasn't. It would change though. It would be like different things. Okay. But
and then could you move like how many hundreds were you selling a day?
Probably like 10. On the weekends, it would be like 20, 30. Like the weekends were like crazy. Like, you know what's crazy? I don't know if you did this, but when I was hustling, I would not do shit on the weekend because it was so much money. My boys would be like, yo, we going to Miami, we going here. And I'm like, nah, I got to work, bro. Like, did you do that or did you enjoy your time? Like,
I never enjoyed it. Always business.
I did that too, bro.
That's the kind of the ironic thing about the drug game is like you're supposed to get all this money to enjoy it, but I can't because my phone's ringing.
Yeah.
So you're just curb serving. You're delivery. Like you don't have any hair on spots. That game is already dead by the time you're in there, right?
It was cell phone. They call me. If it's not a certain amount, I don't meet up with them, you know, and we would just meet up or whatever. And yeah, that's how I did it.
And how did you expand your clientele?
I started working in this bar and this dude had a whole operation and I started working for him. And I had this customer that, this is how I started selling in the first place. I had this customer saying like, yo, he never delivers. I hate having to come into the bar, buy a drink, wait a while so it doesn't look suspicious. This spot is suspicious. I don't like coming here. You should get your own. So I was like, that's not a bad idea. So I started getting my own. And he would give me like, he would wrap it in aluminum foil, right? The Coke. And he would sell 3 for 100. And it was just a little bit, bro. And it was like so much money. So I started doing that. And then I would add mines in and then sell it. And then I started getting like little customers here and there. A lot of it is word of mouth. Like they'll tell you like somebody that you rely on that's like, you know, that always comes to you. They're like, I got somebody. I'm like, yo, they're not a cop, right? You know, and they're people that you've been working with for a while and then they put you on to the next person. That's how I kept expanding, you know?
Yeah.
Plus, one of my main suppliers had a tattoo spot and the dude could not tattoo without being blasted on heroin. It was crazy. He would mess up tattoos if he wasn't on heroin, bro. Like, how do you have more focus on heroin,
The
bro?
opium just keeps you straight, keeps you focused. That's wild. See, it's heroin. I always thought it was like a junkie Skid Row street thing.
Yeah.
Because on the West Coast, it was like if you're already skin popping, like you're on your way to losing it all. But like with that tan on the East Coast at the time, there were a lot of functional heroin addicts.
Yeah, they were functional. They had businesses, yeah.
That's crazy to me.
And it was so much money coming in because he had the tattoo spot. So like everybody who wants something, he calls me, yo, let me get 10 of them here. And I'm like, damn, bro, you use all this? He's not, it's for, you know, my friends or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were all paying for it. And he was like, you know, Guido, he was a fat Italian dude.
Yeah. But would you eventually see your customers start to suck up, as we say, start to get skinny and start to, you know, just degenerate as their habits got worse?
I feel like it wasn't. That's weird because I didn't, to tell you the truth. Like I seen them get more degenerate, but not like crack where it like you could see they turn into a zombie and they lose all the weight and all that. So what does that mean? They were more sniffing it than like shooting it? Or
yeah.
But even my boy Brett that was shooting it, he was like big, he worked out, he was always partying. And he used that a lot. Wow. Yeah. So I don't know how they were functional. Is that weird that they were functional?
Super weird, but it probably didn't last. Like, you know, fiends come in and out, you know, unless they got off of it. Yeah, they're headed
or maybe
for
they
a
were
bad
sniffing
end.
it more than actually, you know, shooting it. Yeah.
Well, that's what all the junkies say at first. They're like, nah, I'm cool. I'm just sniffing it. You know, and that eventually, you know, you don't get high enough. So you usually start tying it off unless you get off of it. You know what I mean? So you were making good money.
Yeah.
So, and you were still cripping.
Yeah.
So what does the cripping have to do with the drug dealing? I always ask gang members that. Why be a gang member?
Nothing to do with it. I was just being young, and that was since I didn't have like brothers or a big family, cousins, stuff like that. I gravitated to gangs because it forces people to be your brothers, you know? And it sucks because that's why a lot of people join. Like a lot of people would be like, why would you join a gang? This don't make no sense. But it's like that brotherhood shit is like real. You need that as a man. You need that camaraderie because this world is so rough. You need people to be like, yo, stop being a bitch. Like, man up, you know? And it's like, it sucks because I didn't generate the friends throughout my life that I could have. Because then, like, you know, I'm Crip. So if you're my friend from the block, I'm like, yeah, what up? But I don't really with you like that. I'm not like, yo, come hang out. If you don't join, it's like, and I did that all throughout my life, even with clubs. Like when I was in a club, I'm only hanging out with people in the club. So it's like, I'm not building those other relationships, you know? So then when you leave, you're very isolated, you know?
Of course. So you catch a bid. One of the customers from this heroin pipeline ODs, right?
No, he doesn't OD. People are ODing because of my connect. So they lock me up. They build a case on me and lock me up to try to get me to tell on him.
Okay. So what did they have on you? Was it the state cops or was it New York task force? Who locked you up?
It was just detectives, you know, regular detectives.
Right. Wasn't the feds. So what did they put on you?
Possession of a controlled substance. They caught me with a whole bunch of stuff in the car, man. I was arguing with my baby mother like an idiot. She just threw me off, and I had too much on me that day, and they busted me in the car. But I was supposed to meet up with this customer, and this customer set me up. He was like an informant or something like that. Yeah.
It's typical.
Yeah.
That's typical.
And I was so on point for so many years, and I got rattled by this girl because she was like saying she was pregnant, and then she had this like 5-month abortion. And it was like a lot of people were telling me that it was probably somebody else's kid. You know, it was some crazy shit, bro.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so it was just a buy bust, basically, that they pinched you with?
Yeah.
So you go to Rikers first?
No, I'm in Rockland County. So this is an area above New York. So, you know, you get more money because it's harder to get to it, you know?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, like, I don't know if you're familiar with the Palisades, but it's by the Palisades Mall. A lot of people think that's Jersey, but it's like Rockland County, New York.
I think it's Pacific Palisades, Los Angeles, but
oh, okay.
who am I?
Yeah. Because you got the big Palisades.
Just a bougie
over
douchebag. All right, so you went and did. What was your sentence?
2 flat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, it was easy.
Was it easy?
For me, I mean, it was rough because I was Crip. So I remember first going to downstate because they send you on a world tour. Did you go on a world tour when you got locked, or was it like boom, boom?
No, I just sat.
New York, like I was in the county. Then 2 weeks later, I'm in downstate. So in downstate is very locked down. It's maximum. And it's like where they send you to whatever jail you're going to go to. So I'm there and I had the tattoos and everything, you know, because I was super gangster. So I'm sitting there and this dude is like, yo, what tattoo is that? And he sees it and then I had like a doughboy and I had 2 money bags with the purple bandana. Yeah. That was everywhere too, bro. Right. Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, I like that. And then he goes like this and he has this big blood. And I'm like, it's on now. So after that day, everything was like quiet. After that day, when I went in the mess hall, it was like everybody was looking at me. I was a rock star, bro. I was like, one of these dudes is gonna try to stab me, bro. Like, right. I was just looking everywhere. I'm like, yo, everybody's blood. And then they're like doing the calls and they're like, I'm like, he's blood too. He's blood too. Everybody's blood. Nobody wants to join another. Right. And you know what's crazy? I learned being up north, all these dudes, they're Muslim because they know there's a lot of Bloods because I didn't know the system like that. And they were Crips, but they weren't claiming. And they were like, oh, I'm Muslim or whatever. And I would know because they would have these names that are Crip names, like Clock instead of Block and stuff like that, where they flip the B into a C, but they're Muslim. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like,
they don't want the smoke with the Bloods, so they just say I'm Muslim. So that kind of gets you out of the gangbanging, right? I
would like to say that they were smarter than me. If we're being real here, they were smarter than me. But so from there, nothing happened because downstate, I remember one time, 2 dudes were talking about blood stuff, and they call them the Turtles came through and totaled them with batons, like destroyed them. And they were like, everybody look forward. Anybody looks, you're getting the same like some dude kind of peaked, they totaled him. They kept a standard where like, we run this, gangs don't run it. Once you go up north, you know, that is over. Right. But from there, I went to Shock. That's where 50 Cent went. Mm-hmm. 50 went to Shock. So it's a program where in 6 months you go home. So I'm like, this is it. Right. I'm gonna be a military dude and deal with, and I'm out of here in 6 months. Got denied because I had the assault on police on I got probation for that, but it wasn't assault on police. It was assault because he wasn't on duty, right. So they couldn't give me that. But since it was on my record, it was considered a violent. You can't get Shock without that. And it was crazy because in Shock, since it's like military, there was this funny time where these 2 Bloods, they were kind of like talking to me or whatever, and they would always stand together in the line. And they're like, yeah, yo, it's going to be on soon, bro. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So this DI, they call him DI, says, yo, are you 2? Why you always together? He was like, you know what? Hold hands right now or you're out the program. And they made the program. So they were going to go home in 6 months or leave in 3 years. Because they had the 3-year max for that program, because that was the least time you could have to get that program. So it's hold this dude's hand or do 3 years. So they're holding hands. I remember a time they got in line together again and they were talking to me or whatever. And I'm like, dudes, you know? And the DI said, oh, you thought I was playing last time. He said they were talking in the mess hall. He made them feed each other. He was like, you two, since you two are you're going to feed each other. And they sat there and fed each other. Wow, everybody's laughing.
That's how bad they wanted to go home.
Yeah.
But you didn't get that program. You didn't get Shocked.
I got sent to Gowanda.
So what is state prison in New York like?
So I went to Gowanda. They call it the projects because it's like 2 big ass buildings or whatever. And it was like, I kind of like Gowanda in a way. That's weird to say, but it was like a dorm because it was like a long hallway, and then you go in each room, there's like 3 to 5, you know, people in the room or whatever. And I was like, it was good because if you get into a fight or something, you know, people keep it between each other. You just bang out and nobody rats on nobody, so you could get away with it. Sometimes people do it in front of everybody and throw, you know, everybody under the bus. But I remember I was with this dude. He was 6'9", German dude. And he had the bald head, everything. And he was like the funniest dude I ever met, bro. Like a legit comedian. There was like Dominican dudes that would say certain stuff in Spanish, and he would be like, did he just call me? And he would say every syllable, but make it something funny. That dude made my bid so much easier. When he went home, I was sad, bro. Because he was just so funny. Like, how funny do you gotta be to have people in prison in the worst situations forgetting they're in prison because they're just crying, laughing, bro?
Oh, yeah. Funniest people in the world I've ever met are prisoners.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, they don't hold back. Okay, so you just skated through then? You didn't have to gangbang or anything?
So in there, like, there was like probably like 12 of us that was Crip, but there was, all right, so there was Horace and Jabba were two lifers that were Jamaicans. They weren't Crip, but my boy Cat that I was, all right, so when I was in juvenile, I was in Lincoln Hall. I was locked up with this kid and he was there. We met each other again as adults in the worst kind of situation, but Cat was there for 7 years. He stabbed somebody. He's a Crip. He's respected. So he sees me and like when you first get in there, like you got to prove that you're really Crip. Like you got to know your knowledge and all that. So they're telling me, you know, like, yo, so what's this, what's that? So I'm telling him or whatever. And then he sees me. He's like, yo, you know, he calls me by my last name and yo. And I'm like, Cat? And he's like, yeah. And we hugged and I was like, thank you, God. You know what I mean? Because if I didn't get embraced by them, the Bloods will sooner or later cut you and then you got to leave, you know? And those dudes were so real. But the f***ed up thing was like, they're all Jamaican. So that's why they really like stood tall because it was Jamaicans and then the Crips, you know, because all the Crips were Jamaican too. And it was like me, I was like the only Puerto Rican and there was another Dominican that was Crip. So I'm sitting there, they're all talking in their language and like the only ones that I could really hang out with was them for the first couple of months or whatever. So like, and I'm like, the like Puerto Rican dudes are like, yo, how did they embrace you or whatever? And I'm like, I started talking to my boy Cat and I was like, why did I get embraced by like the Jamaican culture? And he said, bro, you from the Caribbean, you're Puerto Rican. So he was like, you're part of our culture too. So I was like, oh, like, you know, I never looked at it that way. I thought it was a different island or whatever. And they were just on, because they were like from different Caribbean islands too. You know, they weren't all just Jamaican. I had this like window vision, like, oh, they're Jamaican, everybody's Jamaican, but really they're all from these different islands there or whatever. But yeah, the Bloods were big there. There was a time where I was lucky because in Gowanda was like one of the only prisons in New York at the time where Crips really had like a stronghold. Not a stronghold where we ran the prison, but where like we were respected. It wasn't just like you go to Wyoming or one of these other prisons, while you're cuffed coming in, they cut you when you're out of there. It was like
It's
that.
really
bro.
like that?
Yeah, I remember when I was shipped, you know, around like when I left and I was in Windy and Wyndham. That's a maximum. And they just kept shipping me around before I went to Gowanda. And I got cool with this Crip and I remember all the Bloods were in this one holding cell, and they were like announcing everybody that was going to Wyoming. All the Bloods were going to Wyoming, and this one Crip. Yo, bro, I shed a tear, bro. I was like, that shit devastated me, bro. Like
That dude's
he's
off.
bro. Like he's done, bro.
So they'll slice you. That's how they remove you from the yard or the main line?
It's not like, you know, like California, like they'll slice you for being a rat. You know what I mean? Which is justified. But in the East Coast, they just slash you because you're their enemy, which I don't think is honorable, bro. I think you should get that kind of treatment if you're like a rat. You know what I mean?
So instead of like trying to stab you like they do in Cali, let's say, they slash you over there.
It's a slash thing, yeah.
How do they get? And they call it a $1.50 because they say
$1.50,
that's how
yeah.
many stitches you need to sew you up.
Yeah.
Sew up your side of your face. Oof, it's
Yeah,
brutal.
it's the worst, bro.
Did you ever like witness the aftermath of that?
Yeah.
Any of that?
I remember one day on the street, I've seen it in prison too, but in the street, the first time I ever saw it when I was young, I'm walking with my dude and he's like arguing with this kid and he's like, yo, so what's up? What you want to do? They start fighting. He's beating his ass handily. All of a sudden, they break it up and then he like grabs something for somebody and then he like goes like this. And then all of a sudden, my boy's like this. And he's like, yo, he cut me. And he was just beating this dude's ass like so easy. And like, boom, it just, and it was like.
So in prison, what are they doing? How are they getting in these little razor blades?
Well, they give you razors and
of course,
the regular razors you shave with. So they're making, but people were getting bangers and all that, you know.
I can't believe they, in a place where $150 is like the code, right? That's like the law. They haven't figured out like, oh, we got to give these guys electric razors or something. Like they still give them sharp ass razors that they know they're going to cut people with.
I think they're better than the West Coast with not letting shit in that'll take you out though. Because I think the West Coast, you guys get real weapons, you know? I think it's harder to get the real pokers in prison.
In county jail it is. But no, you can get a poker anywhere when you're doing a bid, when you're the big house. That's crazy. So did you keep your on you when you knew there were a bunch of Bloods around?
Yeah, I remember. It was weird though because the first time I got approached by a Blood. He was like, yo, homie, what's popping? And I'm like, yo, what's cracking? And I took my razor and I was like, yo. He's like, yo, it's not like that here. And he introduced me to the Crips. That shit don't happen in New York prison. So that's God. Like, that, I got to give that to God. You know what I mean? Because that was luck, bro. That was luck. I could have been like that dude right in Wyoming getting cut as soon as I get off the bus, you know, and having to cut somebody to not get cut right away, you know? It was just, I was lucky, bro. Really lucky. In all those dark situations too, I always thought I was so unlucky. But then I look back on it now, I'm like, yo, I was lucky, bro. Because so many people had it so much worse. And it's like the Bloods, yo, they were devious. Like they would cut their own all the time. Yeah, right. I remember like something that would happen all the time, why Bloods would get cut, they would tell them to do a hit, right? And they're ready, it's somebody that's ready to go home. That's why it's so ruthless, bro. If that's your brother and he's about to go home, why are you sending him on the hit, bro? Like to get a new charge, like they didn't give a about you. So they wouldn't do the hit, they would hit them. You know, it's just like, bro.
And it sounds like they don't usually kill somebody when they're hitting them with a razor. It's to scar you. It's to maim you. Crazy.
Yeah, that's what it's really about. You're right. It's not really to kill you. It's still like to maim you. Yeah.
Look at what we just did to this. And now his whole face is opened up.
That's true. That's true.
Wild. Are these like the children of like the crack era? And they were themselves were crack babies, so they don't have the business acumen to be drug dealers. They're just going to be just psychopath killers.
I think they are the mentally unwell. I remember when I was in because they made us do this ASAP program because I tried to lie and say, oh, it was personal use. I was using it all. They was like, yeah, you never been to a drug program. Like, no.
How much did they get you with? How much smack?
I forgot because once they like boiled it down to like what was real and not like that they put in it, it wasn't that much. That's why I only got 2 years. I don't remember exactly like, cause I don't have that like old paperwork cause that wasn't.
Just grams. I can't imagine. I can't imagine it was an ounce even. Okay.
No, it was less than an ounce. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I forgot what I was saying.
So you were doing the drug program. You tried to say that it was personal use.
So I'm doing the drug program, and I remember I was taking like this allergy medication, Loratadine, I think it is, and it always had me like sleepy. Like I'm always in, and you're in a drug program. Of course I'm sleeping. Like this is the most boring in the world. So this black kid was like, yo, Sleepy, look at Sleepy sleeping again. And they all started laughing. So I'm like, oh, you. And then he starts reading and he's like, the. And I'm like, so when they tell me it's time to read, I start doing it. I'm like, cat, and they're like, yo, man, that's fucked up. And I'm like, what? I was like, I'm reading. And they're like, yo, you're making fun of him. And I'm like, bro, he reads like he can't read. And bro, they were going around us. I can't read. I was like,
how wild is that?
I was like, y'all didn't graduate from second grade or third grade?
In America, bro.
Yo, bro, we're all grown men.
Yeah.
I was like, are you serious? No, like seriously, you're not joking around. None of you guys can read. And they're like, no, we're serious. That's some up you just said. I said, bro, how the did you get past second or third grade? And it's like, I was the bad guy though. That's when I knew. I was like, I'm destined for better than this.
I'm done with this like low level gangbanging.
Yeah.
But the system is where these people live. Like, and most ordinary people don't see it, but like it's within these institutions that this whole underworld of, just like dispossessed, marginalized, no education.
Do you think there's a correlation with not knowing how to read and crime?
For sure.
Yeah.
That all, and like, cause drugs and poverty and trauma and all of it builds on each other. And, people don't know any better until they get older, until they've been in the system for decades.
Yeah.
And then, everybody grows up. Everybody's got to grow up sometimes. They're like, damn, I wish I didn't kill that dude. And now it's too late.
The dude that I winded up getting into the shootout with when I was younger, the whole 10 murder case, he actually was in a mental home for a long time after that. So he was like insane. Yeah. So I was dealing with a straight up maniac in the street. And it's like a lot of these people are like, do you think that they should be in mental facilities instead of prisons?
At first, yeah.
Before they even commit the crime?
I mean, it depends. These homeless people that are running around everywhere in every major city, they should be in mental institutions.
Yeah, they're mentally ill for sure.
And I don't know, there's a whole... what I think should be is, we could go on all day. After you get out, is that when the motorcycle club comes into play?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about that.
I needed that camaraderie again, and I was so disconnected from everybody. I was in this bubble, didn't trust anybody, and my boy Arson was like, "Yo, come to the clique or whatever." It's not like that gang, bro. You could get the same. There's girls in it too, So yeah, it was like all these pretty girls, and it was a fun thing. And then being in that, I wound up progressing to get into the 1% because it was just like, you go into if you're in a support club for a 1% club, you go into a spot, you got to shake everybody's hand, do the respect. When you're on 1%, you just walk in, you don't got to say to nobody. That was more my style because I was Crip my whole life,
Right.
So
when you say support club, explain what that is.
So a support club is a club that is underneath a 1% club. So they answer to that 1% club, So they wear a support patch.
I see.
Saying like, this is who we run with, this is the side of the track we're on.
And are they called the same thing? Are they under the same banner?
Yeah, they're under the same coalition. Like there's different coalitions.
Right. I see.
So like an easy one a lot of people know is 81, right? Hell's Angels, and then you got 81 support. So if they got the 81 patch, they're underneath the Hell's Angels. They're an 81 support club.
So it's like the farm system. They're like the farm team for the 1%ers.
Yes.
Okay.
And in some cases, they're the real ones that put in the work.
Really?
Like, they'll have certain clubs that are support. A lot of times when you hear like something involving enemy of the Hells Angels, like if the Mongols, the Vagos, anybody like that gets into something, a lot of times it's the support club that is the one that acted.
Why is that?
For the Hells Angels. Because the Hells Angels are smart. They got their name is such a name brand that people want to be down with them.
Right.
So they're like, nah, you can't be down, but you could be affiliated this way. Right. And then it's like you want to prove yourself. So you get in that circle. So they actually are the ones that like do a lot of the
getting their hands dirty.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And there's so many rats in the Hells Angels and those big clubs now that it's farm the work out to somebody else.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, so tell us about real quick, break down the motorcycle club culture, the 1% culture in New York City. Are there still Hells Angels there?
Yeah, there's Hells Angels in New York.
Okay. Where are they based out of?
A lot of them are like in Long Island. They're in New York too, like down by the Hell's Kitchen area and stuff like that. But I mean, they were at like we used to go to Indian Larry's. They be deep over there at Indian Larry's event. You know Indian Larry?
No, what is
he
it?
was a famous motorcycle. What do you call it? He was a builder. He built the bikes.
Oh.
And he's famous because he used to like ride on the bike like this. And he built like amazing bikes. And every year he has like an Indian Larry event, and they're over there deep or whatever, and all their support clubs and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. But New York, you talking about just New York?
Yeah. New York. I mean, New York City, there's no parking. So I imagine they're probably in the boroughs. Right?
Yeah. There's a lot of clubs everywhere though in New York. Pagans are real big. Unknown Bikers are real big. Dirty Ones. There's a lot of clubs. The Thunder Guards. Like, there's a lot of clubs.
Okay.
A little bit of Mongols, not too much. I used to go to their national parties when I was NTR. I used to go to their national parties and stuff.
And do you think amongst these 1% clubs, just a guess, how many members are actually involved in illegal activity?
So, all right. So this is what I like to say. It's more like, all right. So it's more like the type of crime that they're involved with is not like there's 20 people in our chapter. Let's start this criminal empire. It's more like this dude right here sells drugs. He does his thing. This dude right here got into a problem with this club, so now we're beefing with them. So our crime is like we're attacking them, they're attacking us. Now, are there different clubs in different areas that may have their together like a chapter? Yeah, that's happened throughout history where they got some money together. But as far as like the whole club as a whole being a criminal enterprise, it's these people own businesses, they work, like they're tough dudes, you know, but it's not a criminal empire. Like a true, I'll be honest with you, I was trying to do that. Like I was of the mindset when we were sitting at the table, it was like 50 of us here, everybody's arguing and talking about stupid shit. I'm like, how about we talk about like making money? It's like 50 of us, bro.
Right.
If we put our minds together, we put money together, like we could take over, like do crazy shit, like what's up? And they go back to arguing. And
what was some of your ideas?
I was saying like illegitimate stuff and legitimate stuff. Like, instead of having a clubhouse and we're paying dues, paying $100 a month, and you have all this money for dues to have a clubhouse, why don't we have a business and we'll have our meetings downstairs from the business? Have a restaurant or a club or, something, some.
And what were some illegal ideas?
Just like hustling or like trying to like I never wanted to do like stealing bikes and all like that, but like because I have more of a hustler mentality, so I was thinking like hustling or whatever,
What about extortion? Are any of the guys involved in that?
Nah, not in the club I was in.
Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like 1% clubs are made up of a lot of dudes. And their culture is outlaw, like riding the bike, 50 deep down 6th Avenue, New York. Like that's some outlaw. That makes you feel alive, freedom. So, and a lot of these guys just happen to be involved in illegal activities independently, and then they come together, and then sometimes they network and do dirt together, and then sometimes just spills over, and then they're involved in maybe murders of rivals in different clubs. But it wasn't formed to make illegal money the way the mafia was.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
I see. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. It's it gets glorified because whenever like there's a shootout or something, of course that's like a major thing. But as far as being a criminal enterprise, I don't see it. I saw a lot worse when I was Crip. A lot worse. Yeah. But I know in California they got going on, you know what I mean? But like on the East Coast, it's more like stuff goes down because it's a rough area, but it's not like we got together to get money. Money is not the root of it.
Right.
It's more like brotherhood, because people are backstabbing each other left and right. Because you know how dudes are, bro. Everybody wants to be king of the jungle, That president patch, so many people, you'd be surprised how many people care about that. I never cared about it, bro. I was a sergeant of arms like all throughout in the 1% club, which is a position where you have to actually be the one that, gets physical with people and stuff like that. And I never was impressed by a patch like, oh, I want this patch to seem like I'm better than people, because really nobody gives a only you between your little circle, but other people don't care, what your patch was. So,
well, it depends. Like in that world, it is important.
Yeah.
So tell us about the patch you had. Like, how did that work?
The patch that was important to me was the 1% diamond patch, because that's like the Navy SEALs of MC culture, you know what I mean? So I was proud of that, and in the club I was in, like some clubs, when you get fully patched, it comes with the diamond. In mine, my president was like, you have to earn your diamond separately. You know what I mean?
How do you earn that?
So you just put it in work, showing that you're loyal to the club, Me personally, I was like a kind of handsy person. Like we would go out places and stuff like that, and people would get close to the president, I'll backhand them. That I didn't really have to do, but I was just like trying to show them that like I'm not gonna let nobody get close to you, you know what I mean? And just showing force and fighting and stuff like that when it comes to it, And to me that's regular though, being in the Bronx, but it wasn't like too much shooting or anything like that, you know. Sometimes it comes to that, you know. We had our time where we had tensions with the Hells Angels too when we first were in Connecticut and stuff like that.
Really?
Because when we first put on the Diamond Patch, there was this member that left the Hells Angels and came to us. That's how the beef always starts too, bro. I always told people, if this dude got all these problems, why you let him come here and bring the problems? Because he got 40 dudes that come with him, so they want the numbers to look tough. But then you got problems with them, you know?
Right.
And he wound up leaving the club anyway. So, you know, all that stuff got squashed. But yeah, you have tensions with these big clubs sometimes, you know, over like that.
How many? Tell us the name of your club again.
Thug Riders.
The Thug Riders.
Yeah.
So how deep were you guys?
It's a multi-state thing, you know. It's in a lot of states, you know. So to say an exact number is kind of hard to say.
How many?
You know?
You specifically in New York?
In New York,
chapter?
in New York, I was in New York had like 15, but when I moved to CT, we had like 50. Okay. So yeah, and CT is where I spent a lot of time with TR. And yeah, we had like 50 at a time, but then we broke up into different chapters.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. So you were small compared to like the Mongols or
yeah, like the way they are in Cali, they're f***ing huge, bro. So I have a lot of relationships with them because I do interviews and stuff like that. And I have personal relationships with people. When I go out there, they really like hold me down. Because, you know, California's the type of place, like, if you don't know nobody, you could get into some, you know, real problems. I remember T-Rod, he was a national of the Vagos. I interviewed him, and he's been like a big brother to me. And he actually said, I'm going to throw you a party. So this is like 45 minutes before he says, I'm going to throw you a party. He goes to call, listen, we're going to have a little get together. We go to, we're in Temecula. Yo, bro, there was like 100 of them, bro. Like, not exaggerating, like 100 on call. Imagine if they got actual problems. Right. How many people are coming? That was just to hang out. I was blown. I was like, damn, these is deep.
Yeah,
like,
the Mexicans are deep.
Yeah, they are. They are. I like those dudes a lot. Like, they like times where I was out there, they like always like make sure I'm good. The Mongols too. Like, I'm close with a lot of them, you know, like I interviewed Junior. He was the national president of Mongols. He went away for killing a Hell's Angel for many years. He's like the Sonny Barger of the Mongols. And he's like an awesome mentor. Like, he teaches me so much, you know. So I've learned from some like real heavyweights, you know.
When you were in the game, or now just through this podcast?
Well, in the game, I was still in the game with that, and then now out the game even more, you know what I mean? But I was meeting the same people when I was in the game, you know.
So now that you get patched in, you're Sergeant Arms of the Thug Riders. It's so crazy to me because New York, Manhattan is so gentrified. It's so catered to tourists. It's very safe, more or less. Yeah. There's crazy people in Times Square. Times Square is grimy as shit. But like, the fact that these biker clubs exist kind of on the periphery still, like, it's very 90s, you know. Where do you guys kick it at? Like dive bars and
it's not like the gangs. I feel like the gangs are clear and present. They're on the avenues. You see them. They have more of a presence. Clubs are like in the warehousey areas, you know, because it's hard to have a clubhouse with all the bikes making noise and like a real like area where a lot of people live. Except for the unknowns have a dope clubhouse like in Coney Island. That's kind of cool because Coney Island's like, you know, the amusement park and all that. So that was always fun going over there visiting them.
But also New York's hard to find big real estate that you can afford to where it's going to fit all these bikes. So yeah, you usually got to be a little out of the way. But do you ever have problems? Like, do you guys ride through like blood neighborhoods, Crip neighborhoods, drug neighborhoods in the Bronx?
There was never that crossover problem.
Right.
It's two different worlds, I always say. Like, I've never seen the two paths cross, you know? Like, where it's like, it's just, I don't know. We're just like...
Well, because like young, you know, street hood thug dudes shooting at each other, they don't ride motorcycles.
And why would they be like in a warehouse area, you know? They're taking the bus most of the time, you know? Like in New York, that's the crazy thing about New York. Like, because transportation is so good and there's so much traffic, like, you got dudes wearing $1,000 jeans, $500 Jordans, and they got no car. They just jump on the bus or the train wherever they go, you know?
You shoot somebody, you jump on the train. It's crazy. So now that you're in this club, are you still doing dirt? Are you still making money illegally?
Nah, I squared up once I got in the club. When I got in the club, I was like, I became, that's why I say like people say like the 1% is always like some like gang type, but I disagree because I lived it and it was not what people think it is, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of these people own businesses too, like legit businesses, so they make a lot of money and they don't have to do that, you know what I mean?
Right.
Kind of like the mob, like getting into casinos and stuff like that. Like they like legitimized more. I mean, I know they still have this, but like it's different, you know?
Do you think the gangs, or excuse me, the clubs, the 1% clubs now, they're less illegal than they used to be?
I would say they're still illegal in a small sense, like you know, not having liquor licenses and like that, you know what I mean? In the clubhouse, having all these, you know, strippers and that type of, but not like real danger. I would say if you're in a clubhouse area, it's kind of safe because they don't want that. They don't want the heat around there. So if you're like up in the street, they'll f you up. You know what I mean? Like I've seen that where we had to handle in the local area because now they're looking at us. Because like they were doing like this after hours thing and it was right by the clubhouse and they like were up fighting, shooting and stuff like that. So automatically the club will come down on you if you're like in that area because now you're making it look like they're the attention, you know? So that's where they help the community and they're not going to be like making people feel uncomfortable and stuff like that because they know like people hate that the bikes are loud and stuff like that. So they're more inclined to look out for the community, you know?
Do you remember a couple of years ago, I think this is like right during the pandemic or right after the pandemic, the president of a bike chapter in the Bronx, he was coming out of a gas station and he got straight up like assassinated by two dudes with silencers, and yeah, they just let him have it. I think they were like in a Jeep or something. Do you remember when that happened?
So I know him, and my big brother is a pagan. He's big in the pagans. That dude was a pagan, and he was a blood, and they knew that was about to get real because now he was gonna put the Bloods on bikes, and that would have been checkmate, you know. Whoa. So that was strategic, bro.
No,
that was strategic, bro.
So who hit him?
That was the support club.
Oh, so somebody within the pagans hit him?
No. The support club at 81.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so the Hells Angels affiliates
support club
hit the pagan president.
Yeah. That dude, he was about to checkmate in New York. Wow. Yeah, he was dangerous, bro. They saw that coming. From a mile away. That was shocking. It was shocking.
You saw it like the security cameras picked all of it up.
Yeah.
And you couldn't believe that like that still happens. So
there was another one. My big brother was actually caught up in the one. There was another one at a gas station where he hit like the Hells Angel in the head with the sledgehammer or whatever, or like I forgot what it was, like a stick or something. And but it was his helmet, but he was hitting him in the head. He was in that case. Yeah, it was in Jersey.
They killed him?
No, he didn't kill him. He just had him in the hospital.
Okay, so what would have been, and this is where I disagree with the contention that these are not criminal organizations. And I kind of argue with George Christie when he was on my show.
He's a good friend of mine.
He's a great guy.
He's a good dude,
He's a
bro.
great guy. But okay, if this pagan president is about to put on all these blood gang members that are whole existence is to do illegal shit, would you not agree with that?
Yeah.
Then how is it not a criminal organization? How are these 1%ers
not? It would have been if he would have succeeded.
Right.
Yeah, it would have been.
But then you pull the most criminal to not make it be a criminal organization. Do you see where the logic is kind of flawed there?
You're right. I'm an accountability person. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything I do that's wrong, like that's why I'm not one of these people that's like, I used to be like the police, all that, but I look at it like anything I ever did, it was my fault. It's not the cops' fault for locking me up because I did some, illegal.
Just their job.
Yeah, so I just look at it different. People get mad at me for that, but I'm big on my channel. I talk about accountability. If you do something, it's your fault. It's no one else's fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that.
I felt like that when I got locked up. I wasn't like, oh, it's his fault and his fault. I fucked up. I got caught. I was stupid.
Yeah, me too. God, it's so the hardest thing to do is live with your own mistake.
And the hardest thing is like,
it's easier when you have someone to blame.
Yes. Man. You know what was hard for me? I thought I was good at it. And I was like, I suck at it. You know what I mean? I got caught. And so many people were in prison like, yeah, man, I did 10 years, I did that. I'm like, you suck at crime, bro. It's not good. You're supposed to not get caught, bro. I always had that mentality, like, yo, we're the dumb ones, bro.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with that though, because
Nah.
even the smartest guys get caught.
That's true.
You had the
That's
whole
true.
force of the law and that government apparatus against you. What
True.
chance do you have?
That's true.
Long term, you
True,
know, you
true.
could do some stupid shit to get. It's usually when you let your guard down and do some shit that you wouldn't do. That's usually what leads you to get caught. But it doesn't mean you're stupid. But you up, and all you got to do is up once.
I think you're right, because they know what we're doing. If they want to bust us, they could bust us at any moment, because they know everything. And with the tech now, I don't know how people do it now, bro.
Yeah.
With the tech now, I mean,
Crazy.
if they want you, they got you. That's
I
period.
mean, they caught those dudes that killed that pagan president, I believe.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So, but
No, actually, no. I think they were masked up. They never got caught.
they never got caught.
Nah.
Wow, that's
I don't
wild.
think so.
I mean, it doesn't seem to be dissuading. All the cameras and the what do you call it? You know, facial recognition and the DNA, and it doesn't seem to be dissuading these kids from the Bronx that are running around killing everybody, everything, every day.
I'll be honest with you, bro. I think it's the food and stuff like that. Like, I think there's something about New York. There's something in the water. There's something in the food where there's a disconnect. Something's not right. There's
All you guys do is brag about how good your tap water is.
Have you ever had New York tap water?
But everybody's like, we have the best tap water.
Bro, you ever go to
Stop
Church?
it.
Bro,
Stop
I'm gonna
it.
tell you some
No,
real
you
Puerto
don't.
Rican.
From Portland, Oregon, we have the best runoff pure tap water.
I've heard that before, that New York's supposed to have the cleanest water. I heard Trump say that. Have you ever went to Chocha Beach? It's called Orchard Beach in the Bronx. Bro, you could go to the beach and see a boot in the water, bro.
Sure.
It's so bad that if you step in the water, it could be like this much water. You cannot see your feet, bro. It's bro.
Runoff.
I don't know what they're talking about,
Bro, imagine saying, let's go to the beach in the Bronx. Imagine you have no shot of not ever being trash if you go to a Bronx beach.
I remember my friends used to when we were doing music, we would be recording till like 3, 4 in the morning, and I'm like ready to go to bed, and they're like, yo, let's go to the beach. I'm like, get the out of here, bro. Like, they would always, it'd be like an hour and a half that they were like coercing me, and they were like, all right, so we take the bus to the beach. It's still dark. We fall asleep, wake up. We're like, yeah. It was fun, but I was like, I would have never did that shit. And we were in Chocha Beach. That's what they call it.
Chocha?
Chocha Beach,
Which is Puerto Rican for...
Yeah.
That's funny, Chocha Beach.
That's what we call it.
Is there a lot of Chocha there? Is there girls there?
Bruh. That's one thing the Bronx has abundance of. The women are fire, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Fire,
definitely.
bro.
And they'll you. They got issues. They got kids at home. They got a baby daddy that's up north.
Oh, man. I remember when the Dominican girls first moved in, bro, to New York. I was like, oh, my God, thank you, God, for the Dominican Republic. It was crazy. Yeah. Crazy. And they had like the light-skinned ones and the dark-skinned ones, but the lighter-skinned ones with the long hair, dark black.
Yeah.
Bro, these girls had the bodies that like these girls in LA pay for. They have it. That's one thing about LA I noticed though. Like, I always looked at, like, cause you grew up out there, so you know, like, I always thought LA women are more beautiful, but I've noticed like New York women have better bodies.
Yes, more natural. They're all walking around. Everybody's walking everywhere.
Yeah, they don't have the surgeries in New York like that.
Not as much.
I don't see it. Yeah, all the girls in Cali, they got the lips. I like it. I don't got nothing against it. You know, but it's not. They don't naturally have it. In New York, there's a lot of girls with like fat ass. They got the bodies. You know.
Yeah, I agree. The 1% gang that you were part of. How long were you a 1%er before you quit, retired, and why did you retire?
So altogether in the culture, I was probably like 14 years, and 1% probably like 6. The reason why I left is because my mentor, he was the one that like really helped grow the club. And since I started doing the YouTube show, a lot of people started coming to the club, and he got ran out, and I didn't like the way he got ran out. It was a lot of politics. So
how did he get run out?
He started growing in power too fast because I had the show. People were like, yo, I want to get down with you, bro. Like, I like what you talk about. So I would give him the number. He'd call people. We're opening up in Ohio and all these places. Yeah, they just had a big RICO too. All those people that I brought. So I kind of feel bad about that. But they were living that life. So it's not my fault. But they were good dudes though. But yeah, they just had like a big RICO case or whatever.
In Ohio?
Yeah.
So some chapters are more criminal than others, clearly.
Yeah.
But you're the bike gang, the what do you call them?
Thug Riders?
The Thug Riders are expanding because of your YouTube presence.
At that time they were,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
But we were mostly like more East Coast, but we had other places like Texas, Florida. It's a pretty big club,
Yeah.
But it was at that time it was expanding a lot. And like my mentor, what he did wrong was like he started getting everybody that got down with us to like come in this corner, you're with me, and we're like in this power struggle thing. So he had his shit that he was doing wrong too, So there was that power struggle and he wound up getting pushed out. And when he got pushed out, I was his guy, So it was like the writing was kind of on the wall for me, even though I was in the club longer than him, but and I was getting success with the YouTube and stuff. So I just said, get him out too, Yeah. I didn't want to leave, but like there was just like the writing was kind of like on the wall for me. Like the people in power were like not my guys, like I wasn't their guy, and they had that little resentment towards me. I didn't really have any resentment towards them at the time, but they thought I did because I was his guy, so it was just part of it.
It's like kind of like a fraternity, when you have that many people in a group and a hierarchy like that, and you're with like rough dudes, and a lot of them have criminal records, and some of them are criminals. Like you're going to have that infighting.
Yeah.
George Christie the same way. He kind of got ran out of his own chapter of the Hells Angels, and he was basically president.
Yeah.
So
he's a legend though.
Yeah.
George Christie, he's big.
What's your opinion? Do you think he's a criminal?
Who, George Christie?
Yeah. Do you think he was doing dirt all those years?
As far as like banging out and all that, yeah, because he was like training, like martial arts and all that. So he was shorter, but he was nasty with the fighting and yeah.
But was he like plotting on murdering people and firebombing stores like they accused him of?
I think that if you move on them, they move back on you. So I don't think George Christie was like the one initiating. I think sometimes people would make moves and they were like, the Hells Angels, like, yo, we're the top dogs. So he's just trying to maintain the level of respect they had. So I don't look at, he's an outlaw, so he's not going by the law, but I think he's a good dude though. He got a good heart, you know what I mean? Like, did he do stuff in the past? Like, yeah, I've done that I'm not proud of, but I don't think I was like, the only time that I thought I was a piece of was those two situations I told you. So when I was Crip, I was kind of like a piece of too, because I would like, people would come to me, yo, I want to turn Crip. I'm like, for real? So you got to put in work, go rob this person. I would do like that, like make them prove themselves to me, which is up, And I started realizing like sometimes they would do it and then they would get locked up or they'll get beat up by the person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, I'm putting this kid in a situation, So, those were the times where I think I was up, I could be accountable for what I was wrong for,
Right. Yeah. I think this is such a waste of money. Like when you look back at all the money that the government spent, like the ATF, like infiltrating these bike gangs, like they were the mafia or something.
Yeah, stupid.
I think it's such a waste.
I think it's because it looks sexy. They hang up the cuts and it's like, look, that happened with, I took a lot of heat because, Judge Grady, Judge McGrady, I think his name is?
I don't know.
Sheriff McGrady. He's like, he's in Florida in Polk, and he's like very vocal about like trafficking and all that. He like busts all these traffickers. Well, there was this pagan that I actually knew that went to pick up a hooker, right? And he got bagged and they put him involved. They put his vest online,
right?
And they did this whole press conference and they had all these other people that got locked up. And they made it seem like he was part of a trafficking ring.
Right.
The dude was going to get some.
Yeah.
He was not part of a ring.
Yeah.
But they put it all together and then made it look sexy with the vest, all the pagans, and it's like it's political. And people love that dude because they think that he's like, he might, go after real traffickers and stuff, which is cool. But like he's making it seem like he is when he's not. So is he really going after the real people that's doing the stuff? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, probably not. Did you see that bar, that huge shootout? I think it was in either Texas or Louisiana. Maybe it was Arkansas. It happened like 4 or 5 years ago now.
Talking about the Waco shootout?
No, I'm talking about the shootout at this biker bar where two rival clubs had a shootout. 17 people got killed.
Yeah, you're talking about people. Waco. That was the Bandito shootout.
That was in Waco?
Yeah, that was in Texas.
Oh, that's close to here. That's like an hour north.
Yeah.
So everybody got off. I just saw the headlines.
Nobody talked, bro.
Nobody.
That's crazy, bro.
They kept water, bro. They held it.
I'd never seen it happen before, bro.
Amazing.
Yeah, I did a video about that when it happened. Well, not when it happened, but a couple years after. And because I wasn't doing YouTube at that time. And I called it Nobody Talks, Everybody Walks. And I was kind of like, look, this is the prototype when some shit happens. Right. But I heard from people that were there that it was the cops that started shooting and made it escalate.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. But the whole thing is, it was kind of like how you had your shootout in front of your building. Mm-hmm. You guys didn't talk. Both of you guys walked out of it.
That is true.
You know what I mean?
That's true. None of us got locked up.
And with something like that, it's such a complicated case about who started it that the DA was like, I got to drop it. I can't.
Yeah. I think that, like, people, we have to teach the young, like, not like, you got to be hardcore, you can't snitch. We got to be like, no, like, you can't tell because you're like bringing the whole community down. Like, you got to like instill it to them in a moral character way, not like you're being tough. Because then they're like, oh, I don't feel tough right now, I'm going to tell. It needs to be like, no, like, you probably are not going to go to jail if you don't tell. You know what I mean? Right. You're telling, they don't have shit on you. Right. That's why they need you to tell. You know what I mean? And I feel like we need to teach the young that more when they're not being taught. Like all these dudes, they're not being taught, you know?
Well, I'll tell you what, when I saw that headline, this was just like last week. Like everybody walked from that shooting. I'm like, this makes the 1%ers look better because they were infiltrated by rats and undercovers for years. So I'm like, okay, you earned a little respect back in my eyes.
I remember this ATF agent said that every outlaw club has agents in them right now. And they could be presidents, they could be anything.
Wow.
So yeah, that is like, it's just a sinking shit, bro.
Yeah, for sure. That's why, you know, it's when people do dirt, like somebody came to George Christie and they were like, hey, we want to have this dude killed. He's like, what? I don't have shit to do with it. So, and the government couldn't pin it on him, you know, but all that coming to an end, dude. The system of the United States dollar is coming to an end. Like they don't have that wasteful in name of country, Mexico, because they can't print money. They can't just make money appear out of thin air. They have to budget. So if the United States had to budget, the federal government actually had to budget, they'd be like, oh, we can't just, these non-criminal clubs or these guys that are doing low-level crime, we can't pay federal agents 6-figure salaries to infiltrate these guys that like to get hookers and maybe sell a little bit of like bootleg liquor. You know what I mean?
That's it. Like all these RICOs, and where do you really see like the real time coming in? They'll like lay out all these guns and like a lot of guns are legal.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not even illegal, bro.
Exactly.
It's a
exactly.
Snap. And then they're like $10,000, and it's like, bro, they didn't even have $10,000 a piece.
A full 10 G's. you got a half a kilo worth of money out of this whole club.
It's crazy, bro.
Losers, dude.
Yeah,
losers. The feds are. I hate them, dude.
Yeah.
I hate them. I hate the military-industrial complex. I hate the prison-industrial complex.
Yeah.
You losers. You can't make money in the free market, so you leech off the government. And the only reason they can do that is because they're able to print money. And that's why what Trump is doing right now, even though it's crazy, he's collapsing it because the system is broken. So anyways, you know this is going to lead to me saying go buy Bitcoin, right? Because
I was just going to ask you that. So you believe Bitcoin is the future?
Of course, I know it is. I know it's like a person in 1870 saying, wow, the railroads are on their way out, and pretty soon we're going to be driving vehicles because they had
cassette tapes.
Exactly. Well, I don't know if they had cassette tapes back then, but they had electricity.
Yeah,
like a person in 1875 saying, "Oh, electricity is we're going to be in these moving, driving cars, and everybody's going to the smartest futurists back then predicted that we were all going to be on phones." So I know what's happening.
No, I was saying cassette tapes. Like when I had cassettes, and CDs came out, I was like, nah. I thought cassettes would last forever, and my boy was like, nah, CDs is gonna make cassettes go out, and I was like, nah, how's that possible? And you don't see any of that. Well, CDs are not even around anymore.
I saw this video from a NASA scientist in 1960. 1960. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is a supercomputer. This is what they call the internet.
Yeah.
1960, before JFK got whacked, right?
Yeah.
Our parents were little kids. My parents were little kids. And they're like, one day, everybody at home will have a computer hooked up to this main computer. He's like, this will happen, literally, and it happens.
So have you ever seen the stuff on TikTok when they show the old school world fairs and people are like this and they zoom in and it's a cell phone? Crazy, bro.
Wow.
Yeah, there's
what
some
is that?
Is
that just photoshopped? Like
no, bro. It's like actual pictures. They're like, yo, take the picture yourself and zoom it in. Like they find little dents where like this tech has been around since the 70s and even before that.
Right.
There's this like huge conspiracy. I don't know if you ever went down conspiracy rabbit holes, but there's this conspiracy that we had all the tech and then they did like a rework on everybody because nobody really knows their grandmother's grandmother and stuff like that. So they like took all the tech away and then made us start over. And then like they're like little by little showing us the tech. Because you know the CIA, the feds had cell phones and all that back in the days, you know?
For sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not that deep into conspiracies, but
it's fun. I like it.
Yeah, for sure. But my point is with Bitcoin is that so what's happening now is Trump's collapsing the stock market to weaken the dollar, which will eventually have to be backed by, and he's going to reprice it to gold, meaning our dollar's not backed by anything now. That's why you can just print billions because it's a debt system. You just print. So he's going to have to back it by gold, but gold's not good enough because they can manipulate it. They do. They say they have more than they have. So it will just naturally have to come about that Bitcoin will be the world's underlying currency. Like, and there'll still be the US dollar and there'll still be the Japanese yuan and there'll still be the Argentine peso.
So you're basically saying he's ushering in the New World Order.
Not a New World Order, a decentralized order. New World Order makes it seem
one
like
world,
it's...
But New World Order is one world currency.
Yeah, but it's... it's not currency, it's money. Currency is the shit that you pay with. Money is what backs it. Okay. So when things were the best in all of human history, it's when it was backed by a hard money. It's like the Roman Empire, the denarii was backed by gold, and they were gold coins. When governments got greedy and wanted to make war, they started putting fake gold on the coins, and you track it. The society started like 100 years later, everything collapsed. So when you start with the money and not backing it by something that's real, that takes real energy and it's really scarce and divisible and all that, that's when the society frays. So I don't know if he's doing it on purpose, but yeah, they're crashing they're ushering in a new era of sound money. Sound money meaning its currencies are backed by something that can't just be printed.
But don't you feel like Bitcoin is backed by nothing? It's just air, thin air?
No, it's backed by energy. It takes a lot of energy, and it takes coding and hashing, and so it takes a lot of energy to make Bitcoin. You know what I mean?
So how are you investing in Bitcoin right now? Like every little bit you get, you take a certain amount out, and you throw it into Bitcoin.
And I have
majority or like a little bit.
Yeah, probably like now. Especially now. So I just dumped, I got out of the stock market like a couple months ago because I knew this was coming. And so, yeah, I own some gold stock, but most of it I either keep cash but yeah, probably 60% of my net worth's in Bitcoin.
So if I have money in the S&P, I should just take it out and put it in Bitcoin?
Yeah, I would. So it's going to jump up a little bit, but by the end of the year, there's going to be a huge 40 or 50% correction. So I would dump the S&P like as soon as you're not going to lose money out of it. Yeah, I would dump it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just dumped like some NASDAQ today after it shut because it was down like 15% and it shot back up. So I saw that and I was like, because I'm trying to like mitigate my losses on that.
Where'd you learn all this, bro?
Bro, just I've always been fascinated by economy and money and capitalism. And that's what got me started on my journey into selling drugs in the first place. I just loved business. I was like, man, how does this underground economy work? How do buyers find sellers and blah, blah, blah. And it's just over the years. And with the advent of YouTube, you can learn everything and anything on YouTube. So there's no excuse anymore. Besides, like you can choose to not be ignorant because it's infinite information and it's going to keep becoming more infinite. So, it's just literally, I learned everything about Bitcoin in particular, starting with YouTube. And that's what started getting me reading. And now sometimes I go to conferences and so, yeah. And cause this is the big lick. This is where my grandkids will be just beyond rich because of what I'm buying now.
Bitcoin?
The Bitcoin.
Yeah.
The Bitcoin. Like, so I missed out on the opportunity like after the '08 crash.
Yeah.
I should have bought Amazon and Facebook and all that because it just tanked. I should have bought. Yeah. But I was too deep in the streets and I didn't understand. I had a drug dealer mentality, right? Where I'm like, this is cash. I can't just give my cash into like the market. Yeah. But now we're coming into like the next big crash. And that's why I'm like, yeah, this is my time. But God, that's a journey, man. You really like, you went from Crip to dope boy, heron slinger to 1%er.
Yeah.
So how do you identify now? Like, do you still identify as this 1% biker?
I just consider myself an outlaw, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a 1% like outlaw, you know? Cause like, to me, a 1%er is you prospected, you earned that diamond patch, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like Derek Jeter is a New York Yankee. He earned that. He's been, he was a Yankee. He's not presently playing, but that's what he is. He's a baseball player. He's a Yankee. I'm an outlaw. I'm a 1%er. Yeah. That's how I view myself. But am I like some criminal or whatever? Nah, I'm a businessman now, you know? It's about this that we're doing right here, the future, you know?
Your YouTube channel's sick, so plug away. I mean, for people that don't know you, I'm sure most people watching know you by now, but plug all your man.
Yeah, so my channel is Demons Row, and I call it the Holy Grail of MC culture. Bunch of interviews with like all these diamond clubs. Like I'm the only person in history to sit down with as many outlaws. Like, what's his name that wrote that book? I forgot his name about the Hells Angels. He had like that big interview and wrote a book. He's like legend for that. Just one interview with the Hells, running with the Hells Angels for a time. I've sat down with Hells Angels, Mongols, Vagos, Outlaws, Banditos, like all the big clubs I've sat down with, you know what I mean? On YouTube, on my channel. So if you're into that motorcycle club stuff, motorcycles, all that stuff, go to @Demons Row on any platform, and that's Twitter, anywhere. I'm not really that big on Twitter, but like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube is the home base though. @Demons Row, you can follow me there.
Yeah, no, it's a great channel. I
appreciate that, man. I'll put your channel.
Thanks, bro. Yeah. Thank you for coming down here.
You're one of the few channels that I actually do watch. You know how you say like, oh yeah, I like that channel, but no, I actually watch your channel.
Thank you, bro.
It's a dope channel, bro.
Appreciate it. We got we got some big things coming down the pipe.
I see. You grew fast too.
Yeah. We got in right before this genre exploded. You know what I mean? So how do we keep the ball in the air? How do we keep this little racket going, I
like your editing style too. I think that's what made you stand out from everybody else.
For sure.
Because a lot of the prison content is like, it's not well produced,
Well, that's where I got the light bulb moment.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I can talk about this from a first person perspective and we can make it professional. You know what I mean?
It's that authenticity, bro. That word is like overused, but it's like, you are for what that is, what I am to MC culture. Like we are the ones that lived the life and actually dealt with the people so we can talk from firsthand experience and people feel it. That's why other people will jump on and they'll talk about it, but they're not as big because it doesn't resonate. It's not real,
Yeah, exactly. Or people try to put on a front and, it's like, just enjoy the content, man.
Yeah.
Stop hating all the time.
Yeah, I agree.
And I get it. Like, dude, coming from a comedy background, like I see him get on and he's selling out clubs and theaters everywhere. And I'm like, I'm funnier than that. But I got to rein that in, that like scarcity instinct.
Yeah.
That's just hating is some bum ass. dude.
It is,
and
it
you
is.
get to choose if you're a hater or not.
That's a fact. That's a
So
fact.
you know, please
And then-
keep commenting. It just gets me paid.
Yeah.
Do you remember the
energy-
Easy E line? Dre Day only meant Easy's payday.
Payday,
That's what
yeah.
I say to everybody talking. It's like you're
Yeah.
just pumping the video out more.
Yeah.
You just daddy's just buying more Bitcoin. You
TikTok-
bought my Bitcoin.
TikTok makes me like that though. I'd be laughing. People be talking shit.
Sure,
They
for
think they're
sure.
getting to me. I'm laughing, bro.
Bro, I'll have the most official cats on here. Like dudes, like you just call down to this government, the DEA, and they're like, oh yeah, I have the files. And people in the TikTok are still like, nah.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah, it's like, go do something.
Yeah, like I've sat down with killers.
Right.
And they're like, nah, I don't believe his story. I'm like, bro, you don't gotta believe it. It's facts. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy.
But hey, you go make another one. You go make another biker outlaw podcast. You don't like your, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You go do what we do. Best of luck to you.
Yeah.
Mucho suerte. Anyways, that's my whole, but so you see, it gets to me.
Yeah.
Even shame on me for even letting it get to me.
Yeah, sometimes like
But
one
we're
or
human
two-
beings, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't take it as personal as I do. I'm bothered by how stupid people are.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I'm like. I thought America, it makes me lose hope for people when I see how stupid and base and ignorant and just low vibration people are. That's really, it doesn't bother me personally.
Yeah. I think not to sound like elitist or whatever, but I think there's a lot of low IQ people that can't just say, I always see somebody doing good and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what's up, man. Like this might sound corny, but I like watch wrestling and see somebody getting a major pop and I'm like happy for them. Like you worked hard and people are like singing your song. Like, and I can't understand that hate. Yeah. It should inspire you. Like, all right, now look what he did. Now I want to do my thing my own way and take a little bit that I learned from him. Why hate him?
Right.
It don't make no sense. Bro.
No, I know. But some people, that's a natural instinct with you. Some people don't have that natural instinct.
Yeah.
I'll be real. Like I have a jealous bone in my body.
Yeah.
I'll keep it a buck. Yeah. So like when I was in the drug game and I wasn't at the level I wanted to be, I would see dudes that have blown up. That's how we would say, oh, you know, he's big time now. He blew up.
Yeah.
You know, he's sitting on real work. He's plugged in. And I'm like, you know, I'd get envious. You know what I mean? And that's why.
But is that the spirit of competition or hate? I think I know what I've seen of you. I think that's competition. You're a competitor.
Fair enough.
You want to be the best. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not a hater like, oh, him, you know?
Good point.
You want to
Good
be
point.
better. You
Good
know, you
point.
want to be the best. You
And
know?
I guess that's what competition does. You're like, oh, I can do that too.
Yeah.
As long as you channel that into like, just not letting you turn into like a depressed piece of who's hating online or robbing somebody. But if you could channel that into positive energy, that's ideal. You know what I mean? Because human beings have a biological scarcity embedded in us because we come from apes. We come from cavemen where if this
believe
dude,
that?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, look, could be
I think some people do. I don't
be
think
sent by aliens.
I don't think us Catholics do.
Well, but I'm sure God started all of it, but it's a scientific, you know, anthropological fact that we come from villages where if you saw a guy with a deer that he killed, you're jealous because you're hungry. It's like this guy gets to live another day and I might starve to death. So that scarcity is actually biologically ingrained in us. And we just we're in the modern age, but our biology is still in like we're cavemen in many ways.
The only thing I don't buy the evolution. Like I think there could still be a God and then there's evolution. So it doesn't, you know, disprove God, but why are there still monkeys and apes around then? If we're all like some of the monkeys and apes, like, you know what I mean? I just think I think they want us to think that we're apes, bro. I think it's that simple, bro. Like the ones that are like really pulling the strings want us to think we're monkeys.
There's
bro.
an answer to that, and I'm not smart enough to give it. But we broke off. There were multiple different kinds of humans, and there was Neanderthals, there was Cro-Magnons, there was Cro-Magnon. I think Magnum is a condom that I can't fit. And then there were Homo sapiens, and there's good evidence that says we committed genocide. Like we killed off the Neanderthals. And
that's possible.
So it's a bloody history to get here. You know what I mean? It's not pretty. But I think it's all God's all leading us towards like a really, really higher future. I really believe that.
I agree. I think people have God mistaken too. They think that like he wants us to be poor and just praying all day. And I think what me and you are doing is why God wants us here. Be fruitful, multiply, have dominion. What we're doing is having dominion. Yeah. We're getting the money. We're building legacy. That's what he wants everybody to evolve, to be like truly his kids. You know what I mean? Successful, you know?
No, I think God wants you to be abundant. And
I agree.
And become wealthy, or if that's what you're meant to be, or just make the most of yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I think.
Even if it's just creatively, you know, because he's the ultimate creator, you know?
100%, dude.
Yeah.
All right, Sose. Well, this was a fun one, man.
Yeah,
this was an easy one. You made it easy.
I enjoyed it, man.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah,
okay, so
go
check out his YouTube, his TikTok, and just another great creator. So it was a pleasure.
Yeah, man. I really enjoyed it.
Hell yeah. All right, you guys. Take care. We'll talk to you later.
Peace.